camera being weird. I'm so sorry. There you go. My camera. That. There we go. Is that going to work? Yeah. All right. I think that's going to work. Sorry. So anyway, that's what the show is. We do it every Monday through Friday. Now, before we get into that stuff, we'd like to give you the lay of the land on what this day has been throughout history. We call that segment Erstwhile on this day. And we go through some of the significant events that have shaped this day throughout time. After that, we move on to birthdays. Yeah, we're going to talk about people who were born on this day. Woo, is this a good day to be born on? What does that mean? I don't know. These are the questions we ask. And then we move on to the deaths, the people who have we've lost on this day. And we really decide whether or not we care at all. Hi, chat room. Let's talk to the chat. Hi, April. Hi, April. Oh, April. Rainy Days is here. Whitney is here. Fast outdoor food. Yeah, you know what, guys? Come on, gather in the chat room. I love my chatters. As we like to say around these parts, grab them beanbag chairs of love. Create your circle. Join hands. Let's have a nice conversation. Here's what I like about my chat room. My chat room is cool. My chat room is nice. Well, I mean, sometimes, actually, here's the truth. I don't look at the chat room. I just see the people and say hello to them at the beginning, and then at the end, I'll scan really quickly. But I don't see the ugliness. I don't even know that there is ugliness in the chat room. I'm hoping that there's not. Although I know if you mix like 1 part Anna Morena and 2 parts Byron, you're gonna get something. Something's going to happen. It's going to be some kind of cocktail of ill repute. All right, so what else do we need to talk about here? You know what? Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about the hero of the show. We do. We've got someone who we are calling the hero of the show. You know that this show runs on your gratuities. You know that this show, I've tried to keep it out of the grubby little paws of the corporate man. That's not true. Nobody wants to advertise on it. But it sounds better when I say, well, it's not that nobody wants to. It's just I haven't really approached anybody. But it sounds better when I say it like that. Free speech and all that. That's a big thing. That's a big I hear a lot of people talking about how they really believe in free speech. So there you go. You can't have free speech with corporate overlords. But I'll tell you, man, we've got somebody, a friend of the show, someone who regularly tips. And by the way, we still need your tips, still help out the show with tips. But they stepped up and they basically are the hero of May. That's right, the hero of May. Oh my God, they have stepped up. They said, look, Pugs, we know you do, and we know you work hard. We're with you. We like the show. The show's fun. We think other people think the show is fun. Let's give you a little something. Just, how much do you need to make? And they came through. So I would like to thank Sacred Oils. Sacred Oils. Now, we've been talking about Sacred Oils. By the way, bottom of the screen right there. High Noon Report, supported by Sacred Oils. And this all happens through tipping. They're just a wonderful group of people over there. I've known the founder. I've known the founder for 20 years. We've done business on and off. He's a good friend. I don't know if we want to out him. Well, yeah, if he wants to be the hero, he can be the hero. But right now, let's just talk about Sacred Oils, because we've talked about this place on the Pugs and Parker show, the 9 o'clock show. We've talked about it. I talked about it last night. James Parker, the guy I do Pugs and Parker with, that's the 9 o'clock stream. That show comes on Monday through Friday, 9 to 10-ish. So James Parker fills in for Walter Sterling on Sterling on Sunday, which is a nationally syndicated AM talk radio show. So James was hosting that last night, and I was on. And I was talking about Sacred Oils there. I was like, I can't believe this. But, well, here's how we've been talking about it. I don't know if you're into the whole CBDs and the legal Delta 8s and, all of these, the gummies and all that stuff. We've got to have a conversation about it. I think we're going to get to the root of this. I'm basically using stuff purchased legally in the state of Texas. Walkout cop right there. Hey, officer. Hey, how you doing? Legally in the state of Texas, that is exactly the same product that I am buying at cannabis dispensaries Well, it's not the same product. It's different because there's these. This is where it gets really interesting. There are these legal allowances, let's call them. I don't want to call them loopholes because loopholes have a negative connotation. But there's in a political system where you cannot legalize federally because of certain special interest groups and all that. The way that new laws concerning the growing of hemp and whatnot, they're being left open. They're being left with allowances, right? Again, if we were to take a negative viewpoint, we might call them loopholes, but I call them allowances for the market and the communities to actually dictate what should and should not be legal. Anyway, it's a fascinating thing. The whole CBD industry is fascinating. So I really want to get into that. And I know that you're here, you hear about a lot of them. You know what I mean? They're everywhere. And those CBDs. So if you're being triggered by maybe a commercial that you hear for another CBD place, being advertised by the man, I want you to help the show out, and I want you to think of Sacred Oils. The next time you consider, next time you hear advertised, next time you pass somebody else's billboard and you see CBD, I want you to think Sacred Oils because they're helping out this show, and I would really love it for you guys to at least give them some business if that's an area that you're interested in going into. And a lot of people, especially us Gen Xers, man, we Gen Xers, as we get to be this age. Well, I can show you a couple of things that I take. I'm not like a hippie, and this isn't hippy dippy stuff. This is we have gone past like the health food store and no, man, this is different stuff. This is like special street medicine. You know what I mean? This is like stuff that really works. I take an oil. You know what? Maybe I'll have this stuff that I take. Just a little oil. I just take a little drop under my tongue before bed. That, and I take a couple melatonin gummies. Look, I got my mixture. Oh my God. I've been having the best sleep since I started using the combination, probably about 4 months or something like that. Yeah, a couple of months. Man, I'm telling you. So for a lot of people of our generation, we're starting to have these get out of bed pains. We're starting to get all these kinds of newfound sensations, let's call them, as we get older. And CBD now being a market thing, it's something that we're all jumping into. And I can tell you, I kind of like it. I like all the different kinds and variations that you can find at a place like Sacred Oils. So there you go. I just wanted to give a little bit of love and a nice little shout out to them at the start of the show. We're going to have that thing scrolling. If you need to find them, you want to check them out, you want to even just give them a call and say thank you. Their website and their Facebook, I don't know about their website. I got to get more information about how to properly thank them. But they have a Facebook page, Sacred Oils on Facebook. You can check them out there, and that's it. We're gonna move on from that because the show is not about that. This show is about content, and that is one of the things that the people at Sacred Oils believe in. All right, so we start the show. Let's start the show. Do I have any other things that I need to mention? Oh, by the way, today would have been an on-time show. Today would have started at noon. But I don't know if you folks, are many of you here in the North Texas area? Ooh, did we just get a storm that blew through here? Yeah, so I waited. I do the show out of a guest house studio in the back of a beautiful 1% compound in beautiful Highland Park, Texas. And, when thunder and lightning and all that stuff, the power tends to flicker. And the power flickered at about 11:50. And that storm was raging. So I was like, all right, so I'm just going to wait. I'm just going to wait until the storm passes. And I'm looking at radar on the computer and all that stuff. So that was the reason for the delay today. I do apologize. April Michelle in the chat room. I love me some April. April's going to check them out when I'm in town this week. Well, please do, or just check out their Facebook page, and I think you can order stuff. I will tell you this: there is stuff on the market. There is stuff that is legally sold in Texas, in the form of edibles. That if you enjoy edibles in states like Colorado and Illinois, California, places where it's legal. If you enjoy edibles at those places. these are the exact same thing. They're the exact same thing. And they're 100% legal because they're hemp derived. And that's how the law is written. Hemp is legal, and all hemp derivatives are also legal for commercial use. So anyway, it's a very interesting legal situation that is happening, that's unfolding, and it's unfolding under the radar. And I believe for political reasons, because it's the kind of thing that will get certain special interest groups very upset. So instead of what we all believed would be a giant proclamation of legalization at the federal level, I don't think we're going to see that. I think we're going to see the slow creep of legalization. I think it's just going to be legal, and it's going to have been legal for like 5 years, and everybody's then going to go, I guess this is a thing now. You know what I mean? It's not just going to be an overnight thing. Anyway, very interesting stuff going on. And I really want to get into that. I tried to get into it last night on that show with James Parker, but we ran out of time. So maybe tonight. Tonight we'll talk about all that stuff. Hold on a second. All right, let's see here. Let's move on. What is today? Today is high noon for the 8th day of May, year of our Lord, 2023. May 8th is the 128th day of the year. And, fun fact, there are 237 days remaining until the end of the year. So get them New Year's Eve plans started. All right, let's get into erstwhile on this day. These are all things that happened on this day in history. Do they shape what we should expect from the coming hours? I don't know. Possibly. On this day in 1429, Joan of Arc lifts the siege of Orleans, turning the tide of the 100 Years' War. I love Joan of Arc. Do you guys like Joan of Arc? Joan of Arc is a crazy historical figure. First of all, she's crazy. She was like, she talked to God, and she had conversations in front of people where she was talking to, she's crazy. She's crazy. By any modern standard, she was nuts. Luckily, the King of France was also kind of nuts. The King of France believed that she was talking to God. So at like 17 years old, Joan of Arc becomes the general of his armies because she's talking to God. Knew better than to have a 17-year-old. It just so happens that one of her big situations was the siege of Orleans. Orleans was under siege, but I like to say siege, say it properly. The city of Orleans was under siege by British forces, and the people of Orleans were being starved out. And Joan of Arc arrived after the siege had already been going on for quite some time. And 9 days after Joan of Arc arrived at the siege of New Orleans, the British decided to just go home. Joan of Arc, because she talks to God, not really, because we know now she's crazy. Joan of Arc is like, Saint Joan of Arc, and she becomes... It was happenstance is what I think. I think the British were like, how long are we just going to sit here? Winter's coming. We need to get up. Hey, Colonel, that lady, that girl, that teenage girl just showed up. Yeah, so what? So we're leaving anyway, right? All right, let's get out of here. And I think it was just happenstance. So anyway, Joan of Arc becomes Joan of Arc, but then Joan of Arc does something that also sort of solidifies her reputation as a military leader. When the British are retreating from the siege of Orleans, Joan of Arc, like bloodthirsty, orders all of the French to pursue them and hunt them down and butcher them. So it was just, the British thought they were just going to leave, you know, and then this crazy 17-year-old with her fresh army hunted down these dudes who'd been, you know, sieging on New Orleans for a period of time. I think she got lucky. And then what ended up happening was King Charles, was it King Charles? Was it Charles? I don't know. Whatever, one of those guys. The King of France was like, man, she's good. Again, happenstance. But the King of France was like, man, she's good. Let's go to war against. And then he put her into two big battles. He put her in charge of the next two big battles. And she got slaughtered. Her team got slaughtered. To the point where she was captured by the British, put on trial, and then, you know, executed, burned at the stake. Thus, the legend of Joan of Arc. She was just a crazy 17-year-old kid who, by the crazy nature of this chaotic universe, happened to cross paths with another crazy king who believed this crazy king. It's nuts. And history. And to this day, Joan of Arc is the patron saint of France. On this day in 1846, the Mexican-American War, American forces led by Zachariah Taylor Wasn't he a president, Zachary Taylor? He defeated a Mexican force north of the Rio Grande in the first major battle of the war. That's a victory for white man Texas, right? It's not. I mean, that's those. Who'd they fight? Who was it against? The Mexican. It was like so. So was that really? Wasn't that really like Spain versus America, Mexican American? I don't know. Who are like the Texans, like the historic Texans? Would they've been on? They would have been on Zachary Taylor's side, right, during this whole thing? Because I know the rest of that stuff, like the Texas Republic and all that stuff, that came a couple of years later. Anyway, I don't know enough. You know, for someone who's now lived in Texas for almost 2 decades, off and on. Yeah, almost. I don't know nearly enough about Texas history. I need to learn. That needs, you know what? That I think is going to be an old man hobby of mine. I think that by the time I'm 60, I'm going to be like the foremost historian on all the minutiae of this stuff. Because I find it fascinating. I don't know why I don't. On this day in 1877 at Gilmore's Gardens in New York City, the first Westminster Kennel Club dog show premieres. That's right. It's dog show week. Westminster Kennel Dog. Oh, it is a big deal, man. It's a big deal. Very exciting, too, because I am working with a company. They have hired me, and we are doing a dog podcast. Dogs! Who doesn't love dogs? More on that coming. It's going to be a Dallas-based dog show. And we're recording the first episode today. Not today, this week. And it just so happens that it is the week of the Westminster Dog Show. It's Super Bowl week in the dog world. Telling you, that's an awesome coincidence. Let's see here. 1886. Pharmacist John Pemberton first sells a carbonated beverage named Coca-Cola. He sells it as a medicine. Why? Because it was all cocaine. That's right. Coca-Cola was all cocaine. It was just caramelized water and straight cocaine. People loved it. Oh, I bet they did. So they stopped using cocaine. I don't know when they stopped using cocaine. I mean, a while ago. What you think about the first guy that he's drinking a cocaine Coke? He's like, cocaine Coke, and then it's empty, and he's like, I'm out of Coke, and they're like, oh, here's a new Coke, and he takes the new Coke, and he's like, this one does. If you think the people were pissed about the new Coke campaign in 1985, imagine all the disappointed Coke heads. When in 1903 or whatever, I bet they rioted. On this day in 1902 in Martinique, check this out. I don't even know where Martinique is. It sounds French. Sounds like it's somewhere, you know what I mean? Like somewhere, it's probably got its own king with a guy we don't know. On this day in 1902 in Martinique, Mount Pelée, I don't know, there's an umlaut involved. Excuse me. Anyway, they call it a mountain, but apparently it's a volcano. It erupted. It destroyed the town of Saint-Péray, and it killed, are you ready for this? 30,000 people. 30,000 people. Only what's it say? Only a handful of residents survived the blast. I've never heard about this. 30,000 people in relative modern times wiped out by a volcano because their stupid town was on this volcano and they didn't know it was a volcano. How'd they not know? Well, it was 1902. Maybe that's why they didn't know it was a volcano. I'm sure they didn't know it was a volcano in 1403 either. Oops. Jeez, 30,000 people. Born on this day, although it is this day in history, it's not a birthday. Paramount Pictures is founded on this day in 1912. Paramount Pictures. Back from the dead, thanks to Taylor Sheridan. Taylor Sheridan, he's Mr. Yellowstone. Paramount Network's hot. Paramount Network, when they launched Paramount Plus, remember Paramount was like a cable channel. Paramount Channel. I think it replaced Spike TV. All of a sudden we get the Paramount Channel, and those Paramount. And those of us who watch cable, click, there's the Paramount Channel. We watch it just shows up. Then all of a sudden it's this thing called Paramount Plus. And now they're moving the goalposts on me. They're taking all the good stuff that they made me want to watch for free on my cable that I'm already paying for, which is stupid, but whatever. Still nice if you can pay for it. It's still nice to have. Anyway, and now there's Paramount Plus. And I don't know what Paramount Plus is, but then Paramount Plus blows up. And then all of a sudden, like, I wanted to watch Yellowstone for the longest time, but I couldn't because every time I click on it, they're like, you're not a subscriber. And then, I don't know, I got a new TV. I got a new TV and I put and I click, and all of a sudden I'm a subscriber. I don't know how I'm a subscriber, but whatever. So I like Paramount Plus. It's really good. They did that Godfather miniseries about the making of the Godfather. I forgot what it was called. It was all about Paramount Pictures at the time. Anyway, Paramount, they were in trouble. They were in a lot of trouble back in the 1950s and 60s. They were good early on. I think 1912. So they had some good years in the golden age of Hollywood as one of the major studios. But then they'd fallen on hard times, and then they brought in that Robert Evans guy. And I don't know if you know who Robert Evans is, but Robert Evans, it was the greatest documentary I've ever seen. Without doubt, I love documentaries. The greatest documentary I've ever seen, or I should say my favorite documentary of all time, is the Robert Evans documentary, The Kid Stays in the Picture. Now, I don't know if you've ever seen The Kid Stays in the Picture, but Robert Evans is awesome. He's awesome, man. I became friends with him on Twitter, or at least someone who I believed to be him. This was back when people with blue checks were actually people with blue checks. We used to DM, and then he died. I'm like, look at me. I'm friends with Robert Evans, former leader. He was married to Ally McGraw. He was the leader of Paramount. He produced The Godfather. Anyway, at that point, he was just an old man who was screwing around on Twitter in his last days, and I was one of the people who fanboyed him. Paramount. Okay, so let's talk about Paramount for a minute, because, a lot of people, we like to talk about Disney. Disney, man, they got everything. Disney's got Star Wars. Disney's got the Marvel brand. All these cool-ass things. Well, Paramount's got some cool-ass brands, too. Let's look at the brands that Paramount owns the rights to before we, dismiss them here on their birthday. Paramount, let's see here. Let me see here. Okay. All right. First of all, they own all the War of the Worlds stuff. Anything that wants to be done with War of the Worlds, that's Paramount. Godfather. They own all the Godfather stuff. Bad News Bears. They own the Bad News Bears brand. Star Trek. They own the Star Trek brand. Come on now. Grease. They own the Grease brand. Peanuts. They own the rights to that. They own the rights to Indiana Jones. They own the rights to Beverly Hills Cop. Crocodile Dundee. Top Gun. Come on. Paramount's a baller. Paramount's a player. Formed on this day in 1812. Let's see here. Or 1912. Sorry, not 1812. On this day in 1933, Mohandas Gandhi began a 21-day fast of self-purification, and then he launched a one-year campaign to help the Harijan movement. All right, so on this day, 21 days. 21-day fast. So I was thinking about this the other day because it was the anniversary of Barry Sands, who was passing. Barry Sands was an IRA, an Irish Republican Army prisoner in England, and he went on a fast, a political fast. He was a political prisoner, and he went on a fast. So I'd been thinking about the whole fast thing. 21 days. Gandhi goes on a fast for 21 days, and then he recovers, and he does other. How bad does a 21-day fast leave you, man? I mean, at what point do your kidneys shut down? How many? I'm trying to think. Like, maybe I could go 2 days with no food, max, like 2 days max, and then I just curl up in a ball, and I think I'd just will myself to die. I don't think I'd want to go. I don't think I could go like 10 days. Day 10 of no food and water. I don't think so. Anyway, dude went 3 weeks. Whew. On this day in 1945, the Halifax riot starts when thousands of civilians and servicemen rampage through. Are you ready for this? Halifax, Nova Scotia. That's right. The riots. Oh, them ugly looting riots of... It's like the whitest riot possible. A massive riot. Historical riot, 1945, Halifax. Bunch of white people rampaging through Nova Scotia. Why were they doing that? They were celebrating the end of World War II, and there was a military base there. And the military guys got drunk, and then they decided to go all Viking on the town of Nova Scotia. The Halifax riots on this day in 1945. I never heard that story before. That's crazy. That's crazy. I'd like to see that. There was, when we go, one of my favorite shows is Drunk History. Do you guys remember Drunk History? That's such a wonderful show. What a great concept. It's basically what I do every day when I go through the erstwhile on this day segment. I go through these things and I'm like, man, that would make a great drunk history. I would like to hear someone tell the drunk history of the Nova Scotia riots. I bet that would be funny because they started out as a party and then something got crazy. On this day in 1970, the Beatles released their 12th and final studio album, Let It Be. Let it be, let it be. Okay. I like Let It Be. Let It Be's a good album. Aptly named. Not their last album, though. I think Abbey Road is actually their last album. It was just not released last. They had like a stockpile of stuff. So I think Let It Be was recorded actually before Abbey Road. I don't know. You can check out my Beatles. I used to be like a Beatles trivia freak, but I don't know. As I get older, I find less and less use for it. And new skills need to push that kind of knowledge out. Skills like how to look at the remote control in the dark when the numbers are so small. See, it's new aging skills are pushing these stupid things I knew when I was a kid away. On this day in 1984, Corporal Dennis Lortie enters the Quebec National Assembly and opens fire, killing 3 people and wounding 13. It's crazy. I never heard about this. 1984? Like Canadian Parliament, Quebec National Assembly, like a Congress, some dude walked in and just gig. I never heard of this. Canada getting crazy on this day in history. Let's see here. On this day in, so birthdays. Yeah, that's it. That's okay. We'll end with that one. All right, let's do some birthdays, guys. Are you ready? How about some Today is your birthday. I can't use music. Born on this day. How about 1884? How about His Highness President Harry Truman? Give him hell, Harry. Harry Truman, born on this day in 1884, American colonel and politician. 33rd president of the United States, if you're counting. Born on this day in 1911, Robert Johnson. Robert Johnson, American singer, songwriter. Robert Johnson, as legend tells it, had a duel with the devil at the crossroads for the title of best. I don't know. Just pull up the lyrics to Devil Went Down to Georgia. And that's basically the story of Robert Johnson, or at least a story that is attributed to Robert Johnson, who is known fairly, without debate, as the father of the blues. Robert Johnson sat at them crossroads. Wah, 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 wah. Devil Went Down to Georgia, said, "You're pretty good, old Robert Johnson." Born on this day in 1926, David Attenborough. Nah, not that one. The other one. There's 2 of them. Did you know this? Like, England's got like these 2. It's like they got their own Winklevoss twins bopping around over there for the last 80 years. Because these guys, well, one of them's dead. So, like, the Attenborough name is very famous in England. And it's very famous because there's like 2 brothers who are like both. First of all, they're both Sir David Attenborough. Sir Richard Attenborough. There's 2 brothers, and for the longest time, I just always kind of thought of them as the same thing. I didn't make a distinction between Richard Attenborough, the film director, and David Attenborough, the environmentalist. And then it got even more confusing when David Attenborough, the environmentalist, started working with Richard Attenborough and making these environmental movies. And they're not environmental movies; they're just cool-ass Netflix movies about whales and stuff. Check out the whales, cool HD, those things. Richard Attenborough's or David Attenborough's World, whatever, I don't know, whatever that is, whatever that series is, whichever brother it is, maybe it's both. It's very good. I think it's on Netflix. It's very good. Here's what I would do. Are you ready? This is how I would handle that. First of all, I would give a call to Sacred Oils. I'd get me some edibles, and I would settle in and watch some Some of those Attenborough Netflix nature documentaries. They're cool. And I'd really suggest calling Sacred Oils. The number's right down there at the bottom of the screen. Because you're going to want the edibles. You're going to want the edibles to fully enjoy anything that the Attenboroughs have done. By the way, Richard Attenborough, the brother, we know him from, what did he do? Gandhi. He did Gandhi. He did a bunch of stuff. What else did he do? He did Gandhi. Gandhi's the one that I always think of with Richard Attenborough. He directed Gandhi. I don't know. He directed a lot of stuff. Anyway, that one's dead. I think the film director's dead. And I think this one, David Attenborough, I think he's still alive. So David Attenborough, happy birthday. You're still alive. Your brother's dead. Born on this day in 1926. Don Rickles. Don Rickles. Thoughts on Don Rickles? Got to meet Don Rickles once. Got to meet Don Rickles. Don Rickles was, when I met Don Rickles, it was like 1996. And so we all know who Don Rickles is. He's just a mad dog on stage. You suck, fat lady. You know what I mean? He's just mean. Funny as hell, but let's be honest, funny because we can't believe what he's saying. Because we can't believe that anybody in, civilized society would have the balls to say. So he was like that. And because of that, when Don Rickles was not on stage, he was like the nicest, sweetest, kindest, most non-threatening guy. People tell these stories all the time. And it was absolutely my experience when I met. It was almost like when you met Don Rickles, as you approached him, he saw you approaching, he understood his brand and who he was and whatever, awkwardness you might be feeling during the approach. And it's like he would almost slump his shoulders and make himself sort of docile. He was such a kind and sweet man. Don Rickles, born on this day in I only met him for 10 minutes, but we had a nice little conversation. He was very kind. These guys, these old pros, this is something that Don Rickles did, which also serves to make a lasting impression with the non-celebrity. Don Rickles, and old pros know this, when they're meeting somebody, and this somebody might be a fan, if you don't want to talk about stupid fan stuff, you must drive the conversation and engage the conversation. Don Rickles did that with me. And the end result was he didn't have to answer any stupid questions about Frank Sinatra, And I walked away going, wow, Don Rickles was really interested in where I grew up. You know what I mean? It's a very nice little trick. And the old pros of Hollywood know how to do that. They know how to make you feel special without forcing them to answer any of your stupid questions. Don Rickles was born on this day in 1926. Born on this day in 1930. Y'all don't know this man, but y'all should know this man. Born on this day. Don't call yourself an NFL fan if you don't know who Doug Atkins is. Doug Atkins, born on this day in 1930. Let me tell you about Doug Atkins. Doug Atkins was a 6'8" super athlete, defensive end. He's widely considered to be the first purely defensive player. First player who just really only focused on the defense. He was a monster, a Hall of Famer, college Hall of Famer, everything. He was an absolute monster. Now, we don't know who he is because he stopped playing like around, I don't know, 1965 or something like that. He stopped playing around maybe the later 60s. I don't know. He stopped playing and then he went in and he became a farm boy and he didn't go on NFL Today and he doesn't do all that stuff. But boy, you talk to old heads. You talk to old heads about Doug Atkins, and you know what they're going to tell you? They're going to tell you that there is probably no more important person in the history of the defensive end / edge rusher position than the two names I'm going to lay on you right now. Doug Atkins, who's celebrating a birthday today, and Gino Marchetti. Gino Marchetti and Doug Atkins created what is today known as one of the most important positions on the field. Now, it was a very rudimentary version of it. But in the case of Doug Atkins, born on this day in 1930, he was not only like a 6'8" big dude playing football in the 1950s, right? And we think about these guys with a six-pack of beer under the bench and a cigarette butt going, and they got a gut and all that. That wasn't Doug Atkins. He was like a weird freak for his time. He was like 0% body fat. He was chiseled when he came out of college. He was crazy athletic. He was a national champion collegiate hurdler. So one of the moves that he introduced as a defensive end on sacks, and by the way, played his entire career in an era where they didn't count sacks. I mean, They not only did they not count sacks, but offenses didn't really know how to defend against this kind of sacks. So there were a lot of them. And because of his hurdling ability, Doug Atkins was the first guy to introduce off the defensive end the ability to jump over a blocker who was trying to take him out at the knees, because you could also do that back in those days. Doug Atkins, man, if you're a football nerd, if you're an old head, you want to know about somebody that other people don't know about, you look into Doug Atkins, born on this day in 1930. Born on this day, born on this day in 1937, Joe Louis Clark. Remember him? You know, Morgan Freeman from that I'm a School Principal movie. What was that called? Stand By Me. Yeah, that's it, right? No, was it Stand By Me? No. Lean on me. That's it. Stand By Me. I caught myself. I was going down the hole of failure, and I caught myself. Lean on me. That's the guy. That's him. That guy. Joe Louis Clark, American educator, born on this day in 1937, died 2020. Vaxxed. I don't know. Born on this day in 1940, Peter Benchley. He wrote Jaws. He's the Jaws guy. He wrote Jaws. He did other things too, but let's be honest. Jaws is what he's going to be known for. And he died anyway. And Jaws is what he's known for. So look who's right. I'm right. You're known for Jaws. Born on this day in 1940, Ricky Nelson. Ricky Nelson, the child of Ozzie and Harriet, right? Ozzie and Harriet Nelson. TV star, right? Ozzie and Harriet, who were, I don't know what Ozzie and Harriet did. Ozzie, honestly, man. It's like, in the history of television, it's like Ozzie and Harriet were trailed. I don't know what they did. What were they, a lounge act? What? Comedians, did they sing? And then all of a sudden it's like, we've got this new thing, it's called YouTube, television. That's basically what television was at the time. They're really just the first YouTubers. That's what Ozzie and Harriet were. We're going to do a show about our family and use our real family and our real name. It was weird. And it became a big hit. Ozzie and Harriet was a massive hit. Ricky Nelson became a massive teen icon, a teen idol of the 1960s. He gave us some things. He gave us Tracy Nelson. Remember Tracy Nelson? That was his daughter from Square Pegs. Tracy Nelson was like ugly and hot at the same time. I can't explain it. That kind of like Sarah. You know what? Square Pegs. You remember Square Pegs? Square Pegs, Square Pegs, Square Pegs. It was a CBS show about some high school freshman girls. And I was like in 7th grade when it was on. So I was very interested in high school freshman girls. And it was very good. It was a really good show. Square Pegs was a great show. And of course it got canceled because nobody got it. But history has gone back and said Square Pegs was good. Anyway, Tracy Nelson, Ricky Nelson's daughter, was in Square Pegs. She played the hot girl in the school. But she wasn't, I remember at the time thinking, she's not even as hot as the hottest girl in my school. Isn't this weird? Probably why the show failed. But, Tracy Nelson, I like her. What am I going to say? And they gave us Gunnar and Matthew Nelson. Remember them? Remember the band Nelson? They looked like a couple of albinos, and they had like puss metal hits in the late 80s. I don't want to be I've got blonde hair and a famous last name. I don't know. They were handsome. They went nowhere, though. Nelson. Anyway, so Ricky Nelson himself, he died on New Year's Eve in a plane crash. His private jet crashed. Was he doing crack? I don't know. I don't remember. Here's how I do remember when Ricky Nelson died. It was on New Year's Eve, and we were coming back from a New Year's Eve party, and I was in the backseat of a car, and they just set it on the radio. And then they played, "Went to a garden party," and we were all like, "This song sucks!" And we turned it off. Because at that point, we were like 18, 19-year-old metal and punk heads. Okay, Ricky Nelson, born on this day in 1940. All right, I got to know how he died. I'm sorry, I got to know how Ricky Nelson died, because in my head, I'm like, was there a story about him smoking crack on an airplane? And plane crash because of crack? I don't know. Death. All right, let's see the death. On December 31st, yeah, it was New Year's Eve. On December 31st, 1985, I was 15, so I was 16. I was 15. 16. I was 15 or 16. What was I doing out? Mom, what was I doing out? Mom, this was late at night. I was 16 years old. What was I doing out on New Year's Eve? Ugh. On December 31st, 1985, Nelson Nelson died when the Douglas C-3, on which he was a passenger, crashed into trees, poles, and electrical wires when it attempted to make an emergency landing while in flight between Guntersville, Alabama, and Dallas. Oh, he was supposed to play a New Year's Eve concert here in Dallas. Nelson's DC-3 seemed constantly beset by mechanical problems. The fatal fire, that's what it was. There was a fire on board the plane, and people were like, he was smoking crack. I don't know why they would say that about Ricky Nelson. It'd be like finding out that, Pat Boone is a serial killer. That doesn't fit. That doesn't make any sense. Let's see here. The fatal fire was caused by a defective heater in the tail of the plane. The heater caught fire and filled the cabin with toxic fumes. While both pilots survived, all 7 passengers died. All right, no mention of crack. Okay, so let's forget about that. Born on this day in 1951, NBA coach Mike D'Antoni. Ain't no D in D'Antoni. No. Born on this day in 1951, Chris Franz, American drummer, producer, talking head. Boot. I like the Talking Heads, but I don't like the Talking Heads. Yeah, it's very complicated with me and the Talking Heads. I'm like, okay, I like this song. Okay, I like this song. All right, so okay, I like the music of the Talking Heads. And then they open their mouths and they're just like the weirdest people ever, and it makes me not want to like them. But anyway, happy birthday to you, Chris Franz. You're one of the weirdest people ever. Born on this day in 1953. Here's a dude who's not weird. Here's a dude who's just a dude. Alex Van Halen, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. The remaining Van Halen. Alex, the drummer. Of course, Eddie, the guitar player. Eddie, no longer with us. Alex Van Halen celebrating a birthday today. Born on this day in 1958. My favorite person. Well, one of my favorite people. I love this guy. I swear to God, I do. I've loved this guy for years. I love him. I love him more recently. I mean, he did something for me and my kind recently. That is just, let's build the man a statue. I'm talking about happy birthday to Lovie Smith. That's right, Lovie Smith, American football coach. Oh my God. God, do I love Lovie. First of all, I don't care, and with all apologies to Buddy Ryan, Lovie Smith put together the most fearsome Chicago Bears defense I ever saw. Oh, that's right, I said it. Better than the 85 defense. He did that Urlacher-led defense with a healthy Tommy. Oh, my God, Tommy Harris. Talk about forgotten gods of the NFL. Anyway, but we digress. Lovie Smith was, of course, a coach who took my Bears to the Super Bowl. Lovie Smith's greatest crime was he could never figure out how to get Devin Hester involved in the offense. That's his greatest crime, and why he was Lovie Smith was let go from the Bears after like a 10-win season. It was like the most ridiculous thing ever. So I was very upset. Then he bounces around. He ends up in Texas. He ends up in Houston. This past season, Bears and final game of the season, Bears and the Houston Texans, they both need to lose. If they both lose out, they both lose the game, the Bears and the Texans, or whatever, something like this. Anyway, all the Texans had to do was lose the game. The Texans had lost every game. All they had to do was lose the game. And Lovie Smith knew he was about to be fired. And in losing the game, the Houston Texans would have attained the number 1 draft pick in the 2023 NFL draft, which turned out to be an absolute haul for my Chicago Bears, who won the 2nd draft pick. But Lovie Smith, man, knowing he's going to be fired in Texas, or down there in Houston, he went for the win, and it was like a miracle football moment, and the Houston Texans won, and Lovie Smith was fired, and my Chicago Bears got the number 1 pick in the draft, and we're like, what? All because of who did it? And when we found out it was Lovie, oh my God, the city of Chicago started renaming streets. Oh my God, that guy. Happy birthday to you, Lovie Smith. You are never paying for a drink in Chicago again. I mean, you probably weren't before because you were very well liked. But how about this? Another football great. This is another real one. This is one of the best I've ever seen with thine own eyes. Born on this day in 1959, the great Ronnie Lott. Ronnie Lott, San Francisco 49ers. I don't care what era of Ronnie Lott's career you want to talk about. Drafted as a corner. Went on to be one of the defining safeties of the era, while also being able to play corner. I mean, he was ridiculous as a defensive back. Ronnie Lott, born on this day in 1959. Born on this day in 1964, Melissa Gilbert. Half pint, short round. Who? What? She was a little girl. She's a little girl in the pioneer dress from Little House on the Prairie. I had a friend who had a crush on her. I had a friend. He was, we were little. Little House on the Prairie was on. And he was like, I have a crush on her. She's so cute. And even at like 5 or 6 years old, I remember looking at Melissa Gilbert on Little House on the Prairie and going, I bet she smells. Like, I just thought she smelled. I was like, nothing didn't appeal. That lifestyle didn't appeal. Maybe I didn't understand the fantasy of just, being attracted to a girl. I moved the ball to like a whole, we have to live together. Are we going to live in her little like cabin in the middle of Indian country? I don't want to do that. So I wasn't attracted to her. As she grew up, was she cute? I don't remember. I don't know. She was just never on my. And I have to go through this mental evaluation of my memories of Melissa Gilbert because she came of age at a time when I was coming of age. And as a 15, 16-year-old, I was pretty much driven, and all my memories are based in some form of attraction or not, because that's just who 15-year-old boys are. So excuse me for going into detail about how I feel about Melissa Gilbert. And for the record, I was never attracted. Born on this day in 1974, Corey Stringer, another football player. This is a sad one. You remember Corey Stringer? Corey Stringer was born on this day in 1974. He was good. He played for the Minnesota Vikings. Corey Stringer dropped dead on the practice field. That's right. Dropped dead right there on the practice field. Tragic. Was he vaxxed? I don't know. I think it was about 20 years before that. But, whatever. Born on this day in 1996. Man, this may as well be written in hieroglyphics. I have no idea how to pronounce this rapper's name. He's got numbers. He's got letters. And he doesn't just have letters. He's got X's. This is 6'9". I don't know. It's his birthday. I know he's a thing because I've been confused by this number and letter configuration in the past. It's not the first time I've been confronted with it. I've seen it. There's a documentary about it. I'm like, how do you say, is it 6'9"? Oh my God. If I got to work this hard just to know your name, I can't imagine what a brutal experience listening to your music must be. Here's how he spells his name. The number 6, the letter I, the letter X. There you go. The letter 6. No, the number 6, the letter I, the letter X. Then he's got the number 9, the letter I, the letter N, the letter E. I'm going to say it's 6'9". I shouldn't have to work that hard. So, you know what? I hope you have a difficult birthday. What's his real name? Yeah, you know what? Let me click on this. This better tell me your birth name. What's your real name, stupid? Jeez. He's got a perfectly normal name. His name is Daniel Hernandez Jr. Daniel Hernandez Jr. It's a perfectly good name. 6'9". That's difficult to say. I know the old man is coming out. He's probably terrific. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about some of the people who've died. These are the people who've died. Do we care? I don't know. This is a segment that we get into every day. These are the people who, on this day, they passed away. Dead on this day in 1903, Paul Gauguin. Remember Paul Gauguin? We talked about him the other day. We talked about him when we were talking about Van Gogh. Van Gogh, right? The story. Van Gogh cut his ear off to show how dedicated he was to a woman. Well, that's not the real story. The real story is apparently Paul Gauguin, the guy who died on this day in 1903, and Van Gogh were in love with the same woman, a prostitute, mind you. And they got into a fight in a bar, and Paul Gauguin cut off Van Gogh's ear in the fight for this woman. And then the police got involved and it became a whole thing. And then Van Gogh was like, didn't really want to press charges because Paul was his friend. So they created this story where Van Gogh seems like this romantic madman who cuts his ear off in front of Gauguin in order to show his dedication to this woman who they both shared a mutual. It's all crazy. Paul Gauguin Dead on this day in 1903. Cut off the ear of Van Gogh. That's just a fact. Do we care? Probably not. We don't care that he died on this day. Dead on this day in 1982, Neil Bogart. Do you know who Neil Bogart is? Neil Bogart was a record producer. Casablanca Records was a big deal in the 70s for like 4 or 5 years. Neil Bogart, he had died of cancer. He died of cancer on this day in 1982. He didn't really ever see he wanted to be one of the big players in the music industry. And how did he get noticed? Where did he come from? Boy, did he come out of nowhere. Well, disco. He was the disco king. He was the guy who signed Donna Summer. And his Casablanca Records launched Donna Summer, and I think we all know how successful Donna Summer was. Then his second follow-up act on Casablanca Records was a little band called the Village People. I think we know the Village People had. And then after those two massive hits, then all the big names started coming. And then he just had a regular old thriving late 70s record label. It all went to crap because disco fell apart and all that. And then he died. He died very young. He died on this day in 1982 of cancer. So anyway, that's the story of Neil Bogart. Do we care? I do. I kind of care. I think Neil Bogart's an interesting figure. Neil Bogart, we care that you died on this day. Dead on this day in 1985. I'm going to say a name here, and some of you are going to take a beat, and you're going to go, I know that name, but you don't know where you know it from. Folks, on this day in 1985, Dolph Sweet. Dolph Sweet died. Dolph Sweet. You remember Dolph Sweet? Of course you don't. I didn't. I mean, I had that thing. I'm like, Dolph Sweet. Why do I know Dolph Sweet? And then I clicked on him, and I'm like, God, Chief Kaninsky from Give Me a Break. All right? So you don't remember him because, but Give Me a Break. Remember Give Me a Break with Nell? Remember Nell, the housekeeper who, I don't know, was she doing Chief Kaninsky, right? They couldn't tell that storyline in the 80s, but if that story was being told now, Nell would be sleeping with Chief Kaninsky. But anyway, that's Dolph Sweet. Remember, he was like the dad. And then he died in 85. He died real young. And then we all forgot about him. Dead on this day in 19... Do we care about Dolph Sweet? Yeah, we do. It's my childhood we're talking about. Of course we care about Dolph Sweet. Dead on this day in 1994, George Peppard. Let me stop you. Yes, of course we care about George Peppard, the A-Team. Of course we care. George Peppard died on this day in 1994. Dead on this day in 1999. Do we care? Dana Plato. Yeah, we care. Dana Plato, we care. She was Kimberly Drummond. So we still have this thing, right? We still have this thing where like child stars, more than likely as they age into their 20s and 30s, are gonna be train wrecks. That's still a thing, right? Because it was a really big thing in the 70s. Like, kids who were famous in the 60s and 70s were just absolute train wrecks in the 80s and the 90s. And I was thinking, do we not hear about these train wreck stories anymore? And are there a couple of factors involved as to why we may not hear about them? And then I was reminded, well, Aaron Carter just drowned in a bathtub. Okay? So it's still happening. Aaron Carter just died in a bathtub at like 35 with probably taped pictures of his old Tiger Beat covers all over his bathroom. I don't know. It's probably sad. Here's some of the reasons why I think maybe we don't. I think it happens all the time, but I also think that it gets washed because there are so many child stars now. Like, there used to be like maybe 15 kid stars in all of Hollywood. And when 10 of those 15 would get put in handcuffs by cops, it's like, it's an epidemic. But now we got shit like the Disney Channel, Nickelodeon. We're constantly cranking out. Like, there's so much more kid content. There are so many more teen, young people stars. I just think that they're always screwing up all the time. And it's just not a thing anymore. There you go. All right. So on this day in 1999, Dana Plato died. Do we care? Yeah, we care. We care. Kimberly. Never liked Kimberly either, though. I was not into Kimberly. Kimberly. We're talking different strokes. Okay. I was not into Kimberly Drummond. I don't know. There's something about her. Just something about her didn't appeal to me. Charlene, however. Ladies and gentlemen, the character of Charlene on Different Strokes as portrayed by a young, teenaged Janet Jackson. Whoo! Let me tell you, that taught me some things about myself. As a little white boy raised in the suburbs, not a whole lot of interaction with my black brothers and sisters. Taught me right there that I at least was open to the idea of publicly dating Janet Jackson. Yep. That's why I'm not a racist. I'm not a racist because one of my first erections was because of Janet Jackson playing Charlene on Different Strokes. Yeah, so I was never really into Dana Plato. You know. All right, also, dead on this day in 2021. How can you be into Dana Plato when she's standing next to Janet Jackson? How can you be? I mean, you know what? Dana Plato was maybe the cutest girl at a rural high school. Janet Jackson in 1982, whoo, that was next level. You know she was. You know Janet Jackson was something special. Whew, especially back then. Good Lord. And then it even got better. I know this is supposed to be about Dana Plato, but I am riffing on Janet Jackson. Ooh, when she got nasty. Ooh. I love Janet Jackson. I really do. Did you guys watch the Janet Jackson bio? There's like a Janet Jackson bio series. It was on A&E. I don't know. Maybe now it's on Lifetime or something. I don't know. They get passed around. It was about a year ago. It was really good. It was good. I love Janet. You know, you got man, that chick's like she always struck me as like the only normal one in this house of absolute madness. And she was like, all right, so I can do things too, but I ain't doing it with you guys. I'm going with Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis. I'm moving to Minneapolis. All right, you guys this is too weird. But Janet, you and I could be a power team. Yeah, no, Michael, I'm going to go do my own thing. She's cool. I just always thought she was cool. And also, dead on this day in the year 2021, how about Helmut John? Helmut John. That's right. Who's he? He's an architect. If you like architecture, he makes a lot of cool stuff. He makes a lot of stuff. Like he made, there's like an opera house in Berlin. Like the coolest building in Philadelphia, he did like one something tower. I don't know. Helmut John, he died on this day in 2021. City of Chicago, where I come from, is just littered with Helmut John buildings. So there you go. All right, let's see here. That's going to conclude Erstwhile on this day. I hope you appreciate it. And do we understand? Do we know? Do we know everything that's transpired? So now are we prepared to move forward with whatever today brings us? All right. Once again, I'd like to thank Sacred Oils. Sacred Oils, who stepped up and helped out the show. They're the heroes of May. Man, I'm running out of soda. Sacred Oils. Here's my call to action for you. Let all the other CBD places do all the advertising. I want you people to think of, if you are moved, if you're somebody who has been hearing about all this CBD stuff, and I want you to patronize the business that is helping us continue to do this show. Do you see how that works? We need to be tribal. We have to be. So if you're driving down the road and you hear some other place advertised, I want you to think Sacred Oils. I want you to think Sacred Oils, and I want you to check them out. You can find them on Facebook, Sacred Oils on Facebook, or they're located at 13740 Midway Road, Suite 522 in Dallas, Texas. Give them a call at 469-951-3910. That's 469-951-3910. Remember, they're helping this show, and you guys are helping us too. So thank you to Sacred Oils for stepping up. Ladies and gentlemen, the heroes of May. All right, let's get into all the things that are trending today. Shall we do this? Let's see here. What do we got? By the way, one of the things that we do here on the High Noon Show is we do the static show every Monday through Friday at noon, where we bring you all the headlines and trending topics and all that good stuff, like what we're doing now. But also, if there is any breaking news that happens during a time when we're not streaming, a time that isn't between noon and 2 p.m., we like to jump in with that from time to time. And we had a busy weekend. We covered the terrible situation that we're going to talk about in Allen, Texas. Covered that for multiple hours on Saturday. And now on Sunday, the Brownsville situation occurred. I didn't know how to cover that because that was when a story is unfolding, when there is a active shooter situation or a developing story with like a fire or something, that is ongoing that we can watch develop. The Brownsville thing, I came very close to doing a special stream on that, but the Brownsville stream to me seemed it was over, it was terrible, and there was just nothing but just grotesque imagery. And what would I do a stream on, right? I didn't know. There was nothing that was going to develop in real time that we could all react to. So I didn't. That's why I chose not to do a stream on the Brownsville thing. It was hard though. I wanted to. I love doing those streams, and the streams really perform well on YouTube. And they're really good for helping this show, the noon to 2 show, the high noon report that we do here, because that brings in different people. We do one of those live streams. You look at the chat room. There's like 100 people. It's like, these are not normal. So maybe they learn about the high noon show. And maybe that's how we grow. So I am going to be doing much more live breaking news coverage. It can't be denied. Every time I do one, those videos outperform the regular videos. So we need to use that. And I appreciate you guys tagging along. A lot of you were hanging out with me on Saturday as we watched the terrible situation in Allen unfold. But first, here's what's trending. Brownsville is trending. So Brownsville, Texas, of course, border town. We here in Texas know Brownsville, Texas. Basically the butthole of Texas. And if you've been there, and I have, that's not all that. That's not a crazy description. Butthole of Texas. Brownsville's on the border right across from Matamoros, which is a very big Mexican city on the other side of the, not thrive. There's shit going on in Matamoros is what I'm telling you. It ain't like rural. So Brownsville is always a trouble spot, and there's a whole lot of migrants, whole lot of immigrants. I don't even know what to call them. I avoid all of that stuff, right? My understanding is that somebody's got to pick. We need migrant workers, right? That's what the agri economy of this country is dependent on these people coming in. So I don't know. I think so we're not letting them in anymore. Okay, all right. What are we gonna do? Get robots to just pick things? Because we're getting to that. I just didn't think we were there yet. So I don't know. Whatever. Are they illegals? I got a problem just like you do with illegals. Absolutely. It's very complicated, and we're not going to talk about that here. But a bunch of these, they're being called migrants. A bunch of these migrants were out in front of a shelter, a Christian charities, a Catholic charity shelter where a bunch of homeless and migrants live and reside. They were waiting outside there apparently for a bus, and they were sitting on the curb waiting for the bus. Boy, there were dozens of them. There's a lot of people out there, big crowd of people. And a dude in a Range Rover flies through the red light, which is about maybe a quarter of a block away, flies through the red light, jumps the curb, and then just mows through all of these people sitting on the curb. Bodies flying. Now, we know this without doubt because we live in an age where everything is captured on video. And if you wanted to see the video, you could see the video. And I saw the video, and I can tell you it is disturbing. Now, because we can see the video, I don't have as many questions. I think I mean, the big question is, did he do it on purpose? Did this man drive? By the way, this is another Mexican man who is not cooperating with police. He is apparently being described as belligerent and not at all working with police. Now, the police early on, they said that they believed it might be intentional. And of course, the national media, seeing an opportunity to exploit the situation at the border and, I don't know, feed the beast of whatever agenda would be served by a bunch of migrants being mowed down, they ran with the idea that this was done on purpose. Intentionally ran down. That we heard that. And then around the evening time, they had to dial that back. And I'm glad that they did dial it back, because once I saw the video, once people actually saw the video, they started going, was that intentional? Was that? And then when we saw the guy that was in the car, first of all, he's driving shirtless. Okay, so now I have questions. You are in a $100,000, a new, if it's new, maybe he's a few years old. He is still in a luxury vehicle, a Range Rover, driving around shirtless? What is going on here? You know what I mean? Were you out partying all night? Now it's early Sunday morning because this happened at 8:30. Did you get wasted the night before and you slept it off at your buddy's house and now it's 8:30 in the morning and you're still drunk but you're driving home? So I have questions. Was it intentional? Well, if it's intentional, then we have to think that, oh, he had this moment. Look at them goddamn immigrants. I'm going to kill them all. Woo! And then he purposely jumps the curb and runs them all down, right? That's what intentional would be. I don't think we know that, because I'll tell you, the shirtless tells me, I think this guy's drunk. I think this guy was drunk. I think he was wasted. We haven't heard any of that, though. We haven't heard any. Well, I mean, we've heard people say that they're investigating whether or not he might be drunk, but police can tell fairly quickly if somebody is drunk. And if they thought he was drunk, they smelled alcohol on him, he was slurring his words. I mean, look, I'm thinking that the Brownsville Police Department have been around drunk Mexican men before, right? They should probably be able, this guy's drunk, but they didn't let that leak. What they let leak was they thought it was intentional, which would mean he could have been drunk and it be intentional. Let's establish, was he drunk or not? Because just because he's drunk doesn't mean it wasn't intentional. Because that could be why he did it, because he was drunk. I wouldn't have done it in my right mind, but I did it. So there's that, drunk and intentional. But then there's also, and I'm telling you from the way I watched this video, there's also, I'm just drunk and I shouldn't be on the road. And these people were maybe in the wrong place at the wrong time. And here's why I think that. You see him flying at about certainly twice the speed of all the other cars on the road. He is hammering it. And then he hits the curb, okay? Now, people who say it was intentional say, look, he intentionally jumps up on the curb. I don't know that looks like he intentionally jumped up on the curb. To me, actually, and I've watched it like a dozen times, to me it looks like he kissed the curb and the car went out of control because he was drunk and he was flying. Also, here's the other thing. These poor people, these victims, you can't be doing that. You've seen the video. These people were sitting on the curb of a roadway. That is not, no. You gotta move. You gotta stay off the roadway. This is America. You know what I mean? I'm like, Jesus, if these people were just standing where you're supposed to stand when you're waiting for a bus and not sitting there, they'd all be alive. And this is not me sitting here blaming them. This is me looking at the facts of the situation and going, holy shit. That I know for a fact. If they were not saying, look, I used to take a lot of trains. I used to take the Chicago subway all the time. And whenever I am waiting for a train, I am against the back wall. My back is to the wall. I don't trust people to not shove me in front of the train. That happens. But you sometimes see these people, these idiots who stand right on the edge of the subway tracks and they looking down the tunnel. And I'm like, man, there's crazy homeless people around here. Crazy homeless people just going to push you on that. You're going to hug that third rail and you are going to fry. I don't get it. So I wish these people were being safer. Now, it's not their fault. What are you blaming the thing? No. I am taking a 30,000-foot look at a situation that, man, could have been avoidable. Could have been avoidable if this guy wasn't a drunk piece of shit. Could have been avoidable. Look, could have been avoidable maybe if this guy was super ginned up. Here's the thing. Here's an interesting thing. I found this that I was following on Twitter. The Brownsville thread, hashtag Brownsville, which took off after the Brownsville car accident where 8 people lost their lives and countless others are in the hospital. Seriously, the video is out there, and the video is both brutal but also kind of telling. So the dude hit the curb. He's I don't know, maybe like 60. He seems to lose control. The car flips end over end. He couldn't have intended to do that, which is why I'm thinking, if he was trying to run them down, if this was intentional, if it was intentional, I would think that he would have just jumped on the sidewalk and ran them down cleanly. But that's not what the video shows. The video shows a car traveling at a high rate of speed that suddenly jumps the curb. Could it have kissed the curb? Could it have been he's drunk and he got too close and he jumped? But the minute it hits the curb, the truck goes out of control, which leads me to think that he wasn't intentionally trying to do it. The truck flips over on its side. It goes, I mean, there's no way, like if he was like, I'm going to mow them all down and I'm going to survive this. That could not have been the plan. So I don't know. And now it's like you got to worry. Do I got to worry about working this through in real time and honestly talking about what it is that I'm seeing? Because I'm worried that this isn't going to feed the agenda of some people out there who really want this to be a hate crime. Which, by the way, and this is a subject that we're going to talk about here in the Allen case. Right? He was a Mexican driver. The driver was a Mexican. How can that be a hate crime? How could he have ran them over? He's Mexican himself. Oh my God. People are that reductive and simplistic in how they think about these things. But Mexicans hate other Mexicans? Are you freaking kidding me? I know white people that hate other white people. I know black people that really hate other black people. This is very common. So, it could have been intentional. Where'd he get the expensive car? This dude is driving around shirtless. Again, we don't know if he's drunk, but I think he was drunk. This guy is driving around shirtless in an expensive car. Where'd the car come from? Was it his car? Man, it is terrible. The video is out there, and it's terrible at a number of levels. The level, there seems to be a rooting section for people who want this to have been a hate crime, and then there seems to be another side of people who I don't actually there are people who want it to be a hate crime, and then there are other people who are just kind of like me going, well, we don't really know what this is. And it seems to me like the people who want this to be a hate crime are going to be disappointed, because I truly believe that this guy is just a drunk fool who made the kind of mistake that drunk idiots who get behind the wheel often mistake, and a whole bunch of innocent people paid the price for this idiot's poor choice. I don't think it necessarily has to be this big political thing. However, as I was saying, there was a thread that I was following. The hashtag Brownsville hashtag really took off after this accident. But if you scroll down through all of the Brownsville hashtag, right, what you find is that about a couple hours before the Brownsville accident took over as the dominant conversation on the hashtag Brownsville, but 2 hours before that, there was a big conversation going on with hashtag Brownsville about, it was very anti-migrant. It was all, here's where they're gathering, here's where. So now you got people going, isn't it interesting how the Brownsville hashtag was all about ginning up people to hate migrants and telling people locations of where migrants were gathering, and then all of a sudden this happens. So there are people going, see, that proves that it was intentional. That doesn't prove that it's intentional. All that does is make us go, okay, let's look at that. But it doesn't prove that it's intentional. Again, people hate migrants. This country's been ginned up from coast to coast. So it's not odd that that's going to be something that they're going to be talking about. I don't know. I watched the video. He looks out of control. The car looks out of control. That doesn't look intentional to me. At first it did. At first I thought, oh my God, he obviously did it. But then I started watching it again, and I'm over, and I'm seeing it in slow motion, and he's out of control. And then you see him shirtless on the ground, sitting there Indian style, and I'm like, oh, this guy is drunk. All right. So I'm sure we'll find out more. We'll find out more about what's going on down there in Brownsville. I am hoping. I am hoping that you take this horrifically tragic situation and you try and find You accept that it's just what it is, a horrifically tragic situation. And you try and find something positive out of it. And you know what I'm going to find? You know what the positive that I'm going to take from it? The positive I'm going to take from it is that this wasn't an intentional hate crime against a minority class of people. I'm going to take from it that maybe this was just a drunk. And I know that that ain't taking much from it, but it certainly is better than getting myself ginned up about, oh, they're now attacked. Come on. Let's wait until we hear something. Let's wait until the real... Although I am fascinated by the whole, well, he can't hate Mexicans. He's Mexican. Please. All right, let's talk about Allen, Texas. Allen, Texas, the Allen Outlet Mall went down on Saturday. Woo, Texas. The great state of Texas. Making some news. Texas got a body count for this weekend. Oh, yeah, we do. Yeah, we do. 8 people killed. The Allen Outlet Malls. The Allen Premium Outlet Malls. Should be known. I don't want people thinking that this is just like some sketchy-ass mall. No. This is a nice mall. Nice mall. It's nice to finally see national news reports describing Allen as the affluent Dallas suburb. Yes, because it is very nice up there. And you see these idiots, you know, when one of these things happens in an area that you're familiar with, and you see these idiots from Maryland talking about, just another hood mall in Texas. That's what Houston's like. You know, people thinking Houston's right next. Shut up. It's not a hood mall in Texas. This is the Allen Premium Outlet Malls in beautiful Allen, Texas. Beautiful. Do you want to live in a perfectly modern suburb that didn't exist 10 years ago? Allen, Texas. Didn't exist. It was cornfields. I remember it was cornfields. Now it's awesome. Let's see here. The second deadliest U.S. mass shooting of the year unfolded at a shopping mall in an affluent, look at that, in an affluent Texas suburb. I was just talking about how they're getting love. Leaving 8 victims dead and investigators probing whether the killer may have been driven by right-wing extremism. Okay, we'll get to that. Oh, yeah, we'll get to that. But first, man, this weekend was a rough weekend for grotesque and disturbing images on Twitter. I can't believe the stuff that I saw, against my will, mind you, from the Allen shooting. It's a bit of a perversion, I think. This thing that we see everything now, right? It's like the video was going around of the Allen shooter pulling up in his piece of crap Dodge, jumping out, and then just killing a bunch of people on the sidewalk. People who we would then come to see via the WFAA helicopter shot. Their bodies lying on the ground. I watched the video. Feel like I totally understand this. Man. When we were covering it live, and I went back and I watched our initial coverage of it as it was unfolding, man, this is just a couple of... Give a story 24 hours and you'll have all your answers. And when we do, we know a lot more than we did when we were covering it live. I mean, it was like, remember, it was high school kids on motorcycles. It was, it's all kinds of crazy stuff. But then the video came out and we saw the video and we knew exactly what it was. We knew that this was one of these. I always talk about how I make these compartments. The school shooting, was this a bully? School shooting, gang related? Did this dude go postal? Is this a workplace thing? Does the guy work there? And then there's the other category that freaks me out, which is this category, which is the random category, which is just I'm going to show up someplace where a bunch of strangers are. I have no ties to them, and I'm just going to destroy families in the blink of an eye. Just going to ruin families for generations with the blink of an eye. That's the category that freaks me the fuck out, and that's what this category is. That's the worst possible outcome. Sitting around here hoping that it was a cartel thing. There are all kinds of cool stories. There are all kinds of great stories in the early going hours of this unfolding. Cartel! all this kind of stuff. And I was like, yeah, okay, that'll make sense. I mean, that's a problem. That is a real problem. But at least I can understand in my head that there are really bad career criminals out there who, because of the laws of our society and the things that we are allowing to happen, on occasion, these career criminals are going to cross paths with us. I can rationalize that. We all do that. We all do that. We know that there are certain inherent risks. But I just can't go to the mall because some crackpot might decide today's the day he's going to take us all with him. That's not something that I like. No, it is not. Authorities have not announced a motive for why the gunman, 33-year-old Mauricio Garcia, unleashed a hailstorm of bullets Saturday at Allen Premium Outlet, about 25 miles north of Dallas. Garcia served in the military for a brief period, but was removed due to concerns about his mental health. That's pretty much what everybody's telling us about this guy. The neighbors, they've talked to a bunch of neighbors. False flag! What, did they just move people into the neighbor? What do you mean false flag? It's a neighbor. The woman, the reporter is standing on her porch. She's in her house coat with a bowl of cereal in her hand. She obviously, false flag! No, the neighbors are saying he's a weirdo. Apparently he's a weirdo. Apparently he was a cop cosplayer. He liked to do that. They took jobs as security guards. He liked to do that. Lived at home with his parents. He just got out of prison 2 days ago. No, he didn't. No, he didn't. Okay, I know that your Telegram channel had some concocted story, but then actually a different guy. Maybe it's a common name in Hispanic communities. I don't know. But actually, the truth of that is, here's the truth of that. The truth is, we don't know about this dude's criminal record. Why? Because apparently last Wednesday, the Dallas Police Department got hit with like a virus. And the Dallas computer system, the Dallas law enforcement computer system has been down for what? Almost a week now? This is Dallas. Are you fucking kidding me? Your police communications and information system gets hit with a virus and you're down almost a week in Dallas, a major American city. That's embarrassing. That is embarrassing. But that's why we don't have any records. Now that could be bullshit. And all of these crazy things like, oh, it just so happens that Epstein's cameras were out when he was dying. Oh, it just so happens that now that we need to know information about this guy, the Dallas computer system has a virus. Well, the fact of the matter is a quick Google search will return actual news reports from last week about the Dallas Police Department being hit by a virus. So that did happen. And I do remember seeing that as a story that I didn't cover on High Noon because I thought that seems boring. But now it's not boring. So that did happen. But, the conspiracy-minded, oh, how convenient. And again, because we live in a world of chaos, it is also possible that they are slow-rolling the release of his criminal record for some reason, and the computer system is down. See, they could. There are so many possibilities. But unfortunately, many of us live on social media where there are only two possibilities, my way or the highway. Nuance is not really discussed or considered in today's discourse. It says here, the source could not specify the branch that Garcia served in or what time period. Garcia, who was killed at the scene by an Allen police officer. Godspeed, sir. Good for you. How about a shout out? How about a shout out for the Allen police officer who was probably doing something real shitty. You know what I mean? It was a mall. He was a cop at a mall doing something. He's probably writing a ticket for somebody. He didn't like the way they were parked. You went from being like an a-hole cop writing a ticket for something that is just like, oh, this is how you justify yourself. This is what you do. This is how you sleep at night. You walk around and you wreck people's day by putting paper tickets on their cars at the mall. That's your life. He went from that guy to a great American hero. He stepped up. He stepped up and he put this piece of garbage down. Investigators have unearthed an extensive social media presence, including neo-Nazi and white supremacist-related posts and images that authorities believe Garcia shared online. This according to these sources. Just says the source. That's a weird way to say it, but okay. The indiscriminate slaughter marks yet another mass tragedy at a public place where many Americans had felt safe. No Americans. I don't go anywhere. No, we don't feel safe anywhere. There are places we have to go, and because we're not going to let this because most of us realize that we could all drop dead of a brain aneurysm after our next breath, we're not going to be worried about these things. Even though we could probably completely fix them, but we won't. We accept that as just the times we live in. But don't get it confused. No Americans feel safe anywhere. This whole place is crazy. Always looking over your shoulder. Half of America is armed to the teeth because they don't feel safe anywhere. Across the country, the U.S. has suffered 202 mass shootings within the first 5 months of this year. Isn't that a fun number? That's fun. Every time we get an opportunity to just, morally scoreboard the number of mass shootings we have, we're going to say that. And it's going to be clever. It's going to be clever. You're going to go, wow, that number's crazy. And then we'll move on and do nothing. All right, so let's talk about this dude, this weird dude. I want to find out as much as I can about him, but there's not a whole lot. Okay. So one of the things that I wanted to discuss about this guy is the right-wing neo-Nazi angle, which was first reported by the Wall Street Journal. That bastion of liberal politics. One of the most conservative bedrock publications in the history of the world. They're the ones who first reported it, that he had right-wing ties. The New York Times did some additional information with some sources, and then they reported it as well. And NBC News reported it, and then WAPO reported it. So the big four that were going with this story, and boy, did the big four take some heat from, I don't know, people who don't want it to be a white supremacist. I don't understand what the pushback is. Oh, sure, white supremacist because he's Mexican. No, white supremacist because he had a patch on his... He was wearing a patch that New Order, Kill White People, Reaper, whatever. I don't know what it is. I'm not into these things. Well, actually, I'll just read the story. He had a patch. You saw the patch. You see the little white thing on the thing. It's a patch that apparently aligns him with some ideology, some right-wing ideology. That's all. They saw that. The FBI saw that, and they went, we're investigating what that could mean. We don't know that he's a white supremacist. We don't. They're investigating. We'll find out. They're saying he's got social media posts. Okay? So we'll see him. We'll figure it out. But what I found most interesting about this whole thing, I mean, he's a crazy motherfucker who walked into a mall and shot a bunch of people. I don't really care what he did as a hobby, But anyway, we'll find out. That's all just dipping sauce for this story. He's a crazy person. He's a crazy person who liked guns and all that kind of stuff, and he drove to a mall 20 miles away from his house and destroyed a number of families for generations to come. That's what he did. That's the fact. But what I like is, I like the argument, I just found this argument fascinating, that he couldn't possibly be a white supremacist because he's Mexican. I mean, okay, so let's take a moment and let's, whose head do I need to get myself in here? So I'm going to put myself in the head of the person who is saying that he can't be a white supremacist because he's Mexican. Okay, so if I'm that person, so that means that I'm saying that Mexican is absolutely not white. Even though we've learned, and I've learned recently, that there are a great number of Mexicans who consider themselves white, who consider themselves to be less native and more European Spaniard, which would, in their estimation, make them white. So that's a whole thing. So don't for a minute think that just because someone's Mexican that they don't consider themselves white. Some do. A lot do. Right or wrong, I don't know. But it's a real thing. For instance, Afro-Cuban Proud Boy leader Enrico Torres, right? Dude is an Afro-Cuban. He's black and Cuban, and he's the leader of a white power group, the Proud Boys. So come on, what, you've never heard of self-loathing? I mean, as I said before, I know black people who hate black people. I know white people who hate white people. And they're the most annoying. You know who those people are. They always live in the suburbs and drive German cars. You know, I've known, I mean, I've seen depictions and stories told in film and television that show that certainly in certain Asian communities in America, there is a group, an established group that hates the behavior, the culturally rooted behavior maybe of new immigrants and stuff. I don't know. I'll tell you this. I know a man who is incredibly successful, who lives here in Dallas, Texas, who is 100% Mexican, and he does not like Mexican. He doesn't like the whole, but he's a Mexican guy. So this idea that he couldn't possibly be a right-wing guy and that this is all some conspiracy in the deep state and all that he couldn't possibly be a right-wing guy. I'm like, wow, why? What do you mean? Of course he can. The leader of the Proud Boys is an Afro-Cuban. Well, they encourage this. They like it. They think that it gives them, these groups, it gives them a little bit of indemnification. Let's see, what's Adam saying? Adam is my Mexican friend. He likes to chime in on these cultural issues. He says, that was a big part of the multiple revolutions in Mexico is over the more white people held the power and were cahoots with the U.S. to run Mexico, and the more native folks fought back. Yeah, you know what? That's another. I bet you that's some real interesting history that I've never been exposed to. I don't know anything about the history of Mexico. I don't. Been to Cancun. I know that they made pyramids a long time ago. And then I know that people fly into resort destinations there now. Everything in the middle? I don't really know much about it. I should probably learn. All right. So there you go. Mauricio Garcia, he is the named shooter in the tragic situation that happened up there in Allen, Texas. Allen, Texas, I should also, I haven't really been mentioning this, but that's like when it first happened, I immediately had to text my kid because that's one of his malls. That's a mall in his neighborhood. That's where when they get dropped off at the mall, they go there. Sometimes if it's fancy, they go to Stonebriar, which also began trending on Saturday night. Did you see that? Stonebriar Mall in Frisco? The gem of the north suburbs. Stonebriar Mall was trending nationally on Saturday night. This came after the Allen outlets. There were reports of shots fired, and they had to evacuate Stonebriar on Saturday night. And the news crews went out there, and it started trending. And there's another active shooter. Oh, stop it! It was nothing. It turned out to be nothing. Thankfully, it turned out to be nothing. Let's see. Let's keep moving here. What else is trending today? Tucker. Oh, the Mother Tucker. So the Mother Tucker is locked into his contract with Fox News until 2025. He can't do nothing. They just paid him a whole bunch of money, and they're going to pay him, I think 20 million a year, which honestly, that's kind of a good deal. They got 20. I think I would expect Tucker to be able to, if like before the whole Tucker got fired, like when he was Tucker Carlson in November of 2022. He could have asked for way more than 20 million a year, and they would have given it to him. But so he's going to sit around. Fox wants him to sit around, collect his 20 million a year. And, we've been there. Anybody who works in media who's had to sit out a contract, it's actually pretty nice. You get paid to do nothing, but you know that it's going to end, and you time to prepare yourself. I don't know. Seems like a nice situation. I've only experienced it once. And then we bought our way out of it because we were like, we want to go back to work. Oh, but, for a while, we were just sitting there getting paid. That's not bad. So Tucker wants out. He can't appear anywhere until 2025. Fox News owns him, and they're going to basically put him in dry dock, keep him quiet. Now, this is not good for Tucker. This is not good for Tucker because we got an election coming up, and Tucker wants to be Tucker, the influential voice of the next election cycle, and he can't do it if he's being gagged out by Fox. So, woo, is this turning into a thing? Tucker is saying that he wants to, apparently Newsmax has offered him like $100 million a year. Newsmax! Hey, that'll put him on. There's also stories coming that Tucker wants to do a subscription-based thing, which, if I was Fox News, I think I would allow him to do it. I think I would allow Tucker Carlson to take his audience into a place of his own creation and charge them, probably going to charge them, what, $20 a month, something like that, and charge them to watch. And here's why I think Fox should do that, because nothing will sideline a big populist personality quite like hiding behind a paywall. Happened with Howard Stern. Howard Stern had incredible influence in this country, and then he went behind a paywall, and only his biggest fans followed and paid. Only the biggest. And if only your biggest fans are coming by and paying, well, then that's fine. You can probably make a nice living off them. But if you're looking to grow, if you're looking to expand your sphere of influence, you can't be behind a paywall. I mean, one of the best situations, one of the best examples of how this fails is Tucker himself benefited from when Bill O'Reilly crapped the bed at Fox and they had to cut ties with Bill O'Reilly. When Fox cut ties with Bill O'Reilly was the Tucker Carlson of his day. Bill O'Reilly was a massive star. Nobody could believe they cut ties with Bill O'Reilly. We forget this. But that was a huge, huge thing. Now, Tucker Carlson slid into that spot, and he took what Bill O'Reilly had built, which was significant, and he even added on to it, and he created a whole new thing. But Bill O'Reilly's a good example, because guess what Bill O'Reilly's been doing for the last 10 years? You have no freaking clue. You don't. Because Bill O'Reilly is behind a paywall. Because Bill O'Reilly is doing his own little podcast thing behind a paywall. He has no clout. He has no influence. He has no nothing. Because if you're only speaking to the choir, and those being the people who want to pay, you're not reaching new ears and you're not amplifying your voice any further than where it's already going to go. So that's why I think Fox News might seriously consider letting Tucker out to do his little paywall thing, because history has shown that it doesn't matter how big a personality you are, doesn't matter how charismatic you are, you're only going to be marginalized when you hide behind the paywall. If Tucker Carlson needs to do something for free, it needs to be something where everybody engages. It should be a YouTube channel. That's what he should do. Other than YouTube. Maybe there's better options. All I'm saying is you can't hide. If he wants to be as influential as he was on Fox News, he cannot hide behind a paywall. That's the Tucker news. They're going to go back and forth over whether or not he can get out of his deal. Probably not, though. I imagine that's got to kill him. Imagine he is hot as they come, and he's got to sit out this election cycle. He's not going to be able to go anywhere and talk and say anything. Woo! Sit home and count your money. Frozen food, silver spoon, Tucker. UC Davis is trending. We talked about UC Davis. UC Davis, they had a serial killer situation going on. Remember, we talked about it last week? Somebody was going around stabbing people on the campus of UC Davis. Well, they caught him. Yeah, they caught a dude, and Carlos Dominguez is his name. Carlos Dominguez, who is a former UC Davis student. He dropped out in April and immediately commenced a stabbing. Ex-college student pleads not guilty to California murder charges. Davis, California, a 21-year university student on Friday pled not guilty, pled not guilty to 2 counts of murder and 1 of attempted murder in connection with a series of stabbings in the college community of Davis, California. YOLO County, YOLO! Now, like Yolo County, it was named that like a million years ago. So it's not like the contemporary use of the word YOLO. It's not like that. But wouldn't it be funny if it turns out that they just they had to change their name like a year ago because of some internet contest to name the county? And now it's Yolo County. But no, I'm sure Yolo County has a proud and rich history. Yolo County Superior Court Judge Daniel Wolk, that's a troubling name, also denied bail to Carlos Dominguez, citing the risk to public safety and the defendant's own flight risk, given the seriousness of the alleged crime. Yeah, he's got some real Richard Ramirez vibes. Here, let me show you this guy. This is the guy they caught for running around stabbing people. Where is it? Hold on, give me a sec here. Yep, there he is. All right, look at this dude. Come on. So he was a student at the school. He dropped out, and look at it. Hold on, I'll show it to you. And ready? Let's instantly condemn him or set him free. Does he look like he did? Oh, why isn't it sharing? Look at him. There he is. Yeah, he did it. Look at that guy. If I'm the judge, you bring this dude out, he's got to go. The glitching is back, huh? Well, that fucking sucks. I don't know why that's happening. All right, let's do that. April says, when you try to share your screen, you are glitching out. Well, that is no fun for me and even less fun for you, I'm thinking. Yeah, there's just a whole bunch of issues that I've been having here connection-wise. I don't know what's going on. Anyway, they caught the guy. He's on trial. He's saying he didn't do it. Totally did it. Look at him. I think we all know he did it. UC Davis. That's why UC Davis is trending. There's an interesting story. People are talking about new cars. New cars are trending. People are apparently not buying new cars, and we haven't been buying new cars now for a couple of years. Now, there was a chip shortage, which is one of the reasons why when you drive by Automobile Row, I don't know what highway you whip on through. Here, let me get rid of this. Stop. There we go. Hold on. You whip on down the highway and there's like 15 car dealerships all in a row. Well, all of those parking lots for the last couple of years have been empty. They have. There was a time when times is good, those parking lots are filled with new cars. Those parking lots are empty. Now, part of the problem was during the pandemic, there was this chip shortage that new cars needed. And so, there was a problem there. But apparently, people just aren't buying new cars now. The average person, rich people are always going to buy new cars. That'll just be their thing. Actually, no, I'm sorry. Excuse me. Rich people do not. You know who buys cars? Suckers. Idiots buy cars. Rich people don't buy cars. Rich people have leases. And those leases are through the companies that pay them a paycheck. That's how rich people drive. Leases. And they get a new car every year. And they don't worry about a goddamn thing. Because why doesn't the company just buy the cars and then they give them the car? No, because when you buy a car, it's the worst investment in the world. And a very smart company who's counting every nickel and every penny knows you never buy a new car. So you lease them. The leasing company is left holding the bag on the depreciating car. It's kicked down to the... You know how it works. I don't have to explain how it works. Anyway, so real rich people don't buy cars. Unless they're just showing off and they're like, I want a car for a toy. Here's $200,000 for a Ferrari. Something like that. But regular people, working class people, successful working class people. Let's talk about people, with six-figure incomes, who, live in normal suburbs. They have a nice life. Those people don't buy new cars. Those people buy a 2 or 3 year old car with like 15,000 miles on it. And they drive that. Why? Because they know that it's absolutely absurd to buy a brand new car. You know who buys new cars? People who want to feel safe. People who want to, I guess, I don't know. But it's another The purchasing of automobiles is another one of the great cons that has been perpetrated against the American middle class. It has been sold to us like it's an investment. You want to own your car. Miss a payment. You don't own your car. Nobody owns their car. If you're making a car payment, you don't own your car. I know you're telling yourself that you own your car, but you don't own your car. Same thing with your house. You don't own your house. I own my home. No, you don't. You got 20 more years of mortgage payments. Maybe at one point you will own your home, and that'll be great. People aren't buying new cars. Even as inflation is easing and global chip supply shortages are beginning to resolve, more Americans are being priced out of the nation's new car markets. Industry and government data suggests spending on new cars by the lowest 20% of earners dropped to its lowest level in 11 years. So the lowest 20% of earners in America are buying new cars less than they have in the past 11 years. That means spending on new cars by the top 20%. Okay, so the top 20%, okay, so this is why this is not a problem. Here you go. So the lowest 20% of earners are being priced out of the new car markets, and the lowest 20% of earners are buying less cars than ever before. Conversely, the highest 20% of earners are buying more cars than ever. So the industry's going to be fine. The rich are still getting rich, and they're just buying the same stupid shit they always did that we could never afford. New vehicles were maybe never an everyman product in America. Charles Chesborough, senior economist at Cox Automotive, said, we like to believe that they were, but they probably haven't been for a very long time. So he's saying that cars, this is a guy's spokesperson, right, for like the industry. The cars were never intended every man. Okay, all right. The problem pushing new cars out of reach are twofold. On the demand side, rising interest rates have made car loans far more costly. The average monthly payment reached $686 in mid-2022. That's the average monthly car payment? $686? Good Lord. Last month, okay, so that was mid-2022, the average reached $686. According to data from Edmunds, last month, the average payment in America, last month, 2023, so it was $686 in mid-2022. So last month, 2023, the average car payment in America is $730 a month. Oh. Lord, how many times are you going to pay this car? 730. What is the fight? Oh my God. Let's go to CarMax. Go to CarMax. You know what 15 grand will get you at CarMax? It'll get you a car you can drive for 5 years. That's what it'll get you. Get the CarMax warranty. They'll fix it. They're good. CarMax is good. Self-checkout. Let's talk about that. Self-checkout is trending. Adam says that his lovely wife, Libby, she's paying $943 a month. Jesus, man. If you buy used at a dealership, it's often close to the same price as new. Plus, you can haggle more on new. I've paid 25% less than the dealer. There you go. That's it. Adam Rayner, very working class. Very much working. That's right. You buy that car. I don't know. I'm terrible with money, so you shouldn't take my advice. But I know a lot of people who are not terrible with money, and I listen to what they say. Self-checking. So this is a story that I thought was interesting. I wanted to talk about on today's show. Because, so one of the things that I think people know about me is that if I sit in your section, we're gonna have fun. We're gonna have bartender. I worked in the service industry. I did all of that stuff. I believe in tipping. Even if you give me a bad experience, I'm still going to tip you. You know why? Because I've been there, and I maybe have been a dick to customers too. And, the tip is already factored in. When I walk in, I already know I'm tipping. It's not like, I better be treated like a king, or I'm not giving 12%, like that. That's an asshole. No. I walk in, I know I'm going to have to tip X amount when I walk into a place. So I'm a great believer in tipping. Great believer in tipping. A lot of tipping skills too. As a bartender, if you work in crowded bars and work in cars, you learn there are certain things when you're on the other side of the bar. When you're a customer, there's a bartender that gets your attention every time. Tip the guy early. You walk into a bar. Here's a great tip. I know. Well, look, this is how you roll. You walk into a bar. Let's say you're meeting your buddies and you're going to watch the Stars game. And you walk into the bar and there's like 3 deep at the bar, right? You make sure that the minute you get, before a place gets totally crazy, the minute you get the attention of the bartender, you give him $20. Just give him $20. Say, here you go. That's you. I want you to look for me tonight because I'm going to be here all night and there's going to be another 20. You don't even have to have another 20 for him at the end. But you tell him that. You got to do that. That's a pro move. I'll tell you, people used to do that all the time. I have like $200 in my pocket in tips just from dudes who pre-tipped so that I would ignore the guy in front of me and get their table's order. That's how it works. Service industry. So I am very pro-tipping. Always been pro-tipping. Always been take care of the people who are doing the shit that I don't want to do. I love these people who don't tip for food delivery. I get food delivery every day. It's like, dude, the tips must kill you. Fuck that, I don't tip. What do you mean you don't tip? If they bring it to the house, it's their job. Dude, you are too lazy to get off your ass and go pick up that food yourself. Somebody else is saying, I'll do it. The least you could do is slide them a little something, you selfish prick. Yeah, there's those people out there. So I'm a great advocate for tipping, taking care of people who are working grunt jobs. However, and this is where I draw the line, and this is the story that's circulating right now. The Wall Street Journal has a piece on it today, and it's taken off online. What is this? What is this thing now? What is this thing I'm seeing where I'm dealing with a robot, where I'm not dealing with a human being, and it's all self-checkout, and it's all boop, 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 boop. And I'm using the card, and I'm boop, 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 boop. I'm doing it all myself. And then at the very end, a little thing pops up and says, would you like to tip? Huh? Tip who? Who am I to? No, I would not like to tip. I am telling you, I've been noticing this more and more at places that just have you. For instance, I'll give you another place that has it every time, and I'm like, I don't get this. So I go to this like falafel place. Me and my kid, we love this falafel place. And we'll go up there, and it's just basically a Chipotle where there's a whole bunch of people, and they're in line, and you slide in your thing, give me some of that, and some of that, and some of that. And then you go to the end, and you ring it up yourself, and you do all the stuff yourself, and it's all self-checkout, and then it says, do you want a tip? And I'm like, who am I tipping? What? This robot. So apparently, this is a new thing that businesses are doing so that they don't have to actually give their employees raises. They're hoping that enough people will just go, yeah, I'll tip 20%. They're hoping that enough people just tip into these things. And that goes into the business fund, and then they justify paying. Ain't nobody, people want to know where that money's going, because that money is not going to necessarily the people who are there when you're, don't tip the robots. That's my thing. There you go. I've said it. Tip a human being, tip a normal human, don't tip a robot. Don't do that. There is no reason to. And don't get pressured because you're looking at this delightful little person who just made your burrito. That person isn't getting this tip, okay? This tip is going to be processed. It's going to be a week later. That person is not getting this tip. That tip is going to some general fund, and we have no idea how the falafel brothers are going to be spending or distributing these funds. I hate it. I hate it. Let's see here. So I thought that was interesting because, anytime I can find a story that's trending nationally that bolsters something that I've been quietly simmering over in my private life, I like to jump on that. Let's see. Any hot takes on the tipping a robot? Don't tip a robot. Let's see here. What else do we got to talk about on this day? Look at us. Just pointing out it's 2:00 and we ain't even close to being done. That's the kind of show you get when Sacred Oils steps up and helps out. Sacred Oils. Check them out on Facebook. I do think that's a great call of action to Sacred Oils, or call to action. Like when you do an endorsement, it's like, what's the call to action? I like that I'm using the call to action of, you've heard about CBD because everybody else is talking about it. So you can go a million places. So you're hearing me talk about Sacred Oils. So I'm asking you, if you like this show and if you're going to try CBD, I'm going to try it. If you've been thinking about that, I would consider it a personal favor for you to try the good folks at Sacred Oils, who helped us out this month. Got us across the finish line. But it's a new month. Yeah. So don't forget, tipping is appreciated. That's right. It was still good. Thank you, Jeff Ballard, by the way. I got a nice tip over the weekend from Jeff Ballard. Isn't that nice? Thank you, Jeff. I'm sure everybody. I could thank everybody. Adam, all you people are wonderful. You take care of me so well. So thank you. But if you do want to tip, it is early in the month, and I'm telling you, man, it's been tough. We got some things happening, so maybe things will get better. Thank you once again, though, to our new friends at Sacred Oils. They got gummies. They got gummies. Look at me. Okay, so this is not bullshit. This is not bullshit. Look at me. They're real gummies. Extrapolate from that whatever you will. What do I mean by they're real gummies? You just go there, you buy them. What you want from gummies, you're going to get from gummies. And other stuff too, like vapes and stuff. It's Sacred Oils. Get some not lotion. What is this? I should have gotten up and shown you what I take at night. Yeah, maybe we'll do that at the end of the show. I like it though. You drop it under the tongue. I also take a melatonin, but man, does it chill me out. Here's one we got to talk about. This is sad. I was talking about this guy in a way the other day when we were talking about the old Kansas City Athletics before they moved to Oakland, and how they were basically like a farm team of the New York Yankees, and it was just overflow, and the Yankees would trade with Kansas City, and they'd send guys back and forth. It was almost like the Kansas City A's of that era were nothing more than just a second-string New York Yankees who also played in Major League Baseball. Then they moved to Oakland, and it turned out that all of these like Yankee overflow players became superstars, and they rattled off 3 consecutive World Series. The Oakland A's of the early 1970s were truly one of baseball's most exciting and interesting teams. Their leader, their ace, died over the weekend. Vida Blue, flame-throwing ace of A's dynasty, dies at 73 years old. Vida Blue, man, he could throw that ball, and he was a funny interview. He was a good interview. Vida Blue, a flame-throwing left-hander who became the youngest MVP in AL or NL history back in 1971, and helped the Athletics win 3 straight World Series championships from 72 to 74, died on Saturday. He was 73. There are a few players with a more decorated career than Vida Blue, the A's said in a statement. He was a 3-time champion, an MVP, a 6-time All-Star, a Cy Young Award winner, and an Oakland A's Hall of Famer. Vida will always be franchise legend and a friend. We send our deepest condolences to his family and friends during this arduous time. Vida Blue, and also needs to be said, one of the cool baseball names. Vida Blue, Satchel Paige, Oil Can Boyd, cool Papa Bell. The baseball players, black baseball players, and Negro League players have the coolest names. Vida Blue. That sounds made up, but it's probably a legit name. It's probably his legit. Is it his legit name? Was Vida Blue born Vida Blue? You know, I'm just going to say it is because I want that to be the truth, and I'm going to go with it. Ray Liotta is trending today. Ray Liotta. Oh, man, did we lose Ray Liotta last year? We saw him in Cocaine Bear, watched him be disemboweled by a crazy cocaine bear. That was fun. But he died. That cocaine bear came out posthumously. He died a year before that in an Ecuadorian jungle. I don't know, somewhere in South America, Central America, something like that. He was making a movie. He died in his hotel room. Why are we talking? Well, we now know what he died of. We now, a year later, they're finally going to go, okay, are you ready? You want to know how he died? Heart attack. He just a heart attack. Nothing. He'd had heart problems, and he wasn't public about it. But yeah, he was high, and he knew it, and he was taking medications for it, and he had some heart work in the past, and so Ray Liotta. Love Ray Liotta. Come on, man. Ray Liotta is awesome. Ray Liotta draft. Nah, we only do that on birthdays. I was going to do a Ray Liotta draft, but got to do that on birthdays. And I feel like we've already done a Ray Liotta draft. I'm sure we have. I wouldn't because Ray Liotta is one of my favorites. Richard Dreyfuss. Richard Dreyfuss is trending. Dreyfuss started trending yesterday and has been trending nonstop ever since. You know why? Because Richard Dreyfuss is a big old dick. Richard Dreyfuss is a difficult man. He's always been a difficult man. But one of the wonderful things about being a difficult man, and an accomplished man at that, Richard Dreyfuss is accomplished. Richard Dreyfuss has FU money. You know what FU money? FU money is an amount of money that allows you to not give a shit about anything. To say whatever you want. Ain't nobody going to take anything from you. You're uncancelable. Whatever. I mean, they're trying to cancel Richard Dreyfuss now, but he's got that. Richard Dreyfuss. He's an old man. He comes from money. He's another one of these silver spoon Hollywood kids. His father was a fancy New York attorney and restaurateur, and then his parents got divorced, and his mom came out to Hollywood, and he was raised in the Hollywood Hills and went to Hollywood High School. He's a little silver spoon. So he came into Hollywood with money as a young actor and pissed a lot of people off because he was kind of a dick. But here's what was undeniable. He's also kind of a great actor. And Richard Dreyfuss became such a movie star. Oh, he was so big. He was so big. First of all, he had like American Graffiti. That was like the first one where people were like, oh, I like that guy. Then Jaws, then Close Encounters, then The Goodbye Girl. Dude, he even did What About Bob with Bill Murray. And they hated each other. Oh, did they not get along? Bill Murray and Richard Dreyfuss did not get along during What About Bob. Probably because Bill Murray has been known to be a pretty in-your-face personality, and Richard Dreyfuss is well known to be a dick. So I'm sure they didn't get along. But anyway, Richard Dreyfuss, he sat down and he gave an interview. Who did he give an interview to? Let me see. Let's see who's he talking to. He said some funny things. He said some funny old man things, and oh boy, the woke left came after him. They came after him hard because he's an old man who doesn't give a shit. He's always been a dick, and he's just like, yeah, I'm just going to say what I say. Hollywood's new diversity rules are making one actor sick. Legendary actor Richard Dreyfuss condemned the inclusivity changes that will be implemented for next year's Oscars, saying that the new standards make me vomit. Richard Dreyfuss kind of like a Kirkland Dustin Hoffman. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like the Kirkland brand Dustin Hoffman. Like if you had a role that was like perfect for Dustin Hoffman, but Dustin Hoffman wasn't available, you could slide Richard Dreyfuss into that role. Richard Dreyfuss could play that role. Same kind of, not a tough guy, wily, confident, Anyway, Hollywood's new diversity rules are angering legendary actor Richard Dreyfuss. He condemned the changes for the new Oscars. He says, this is an art form. It's also a form of commerce, and it makes money, but it is an art, Dreyfuss said on PBS. He did this on Firing Line with Margaret Hoover. Margaret Hoover. Man, do I like her. Woo, Maggie Hoover. Margaret Hoover. Margaret Hoover might be my favorite news lady. I like Margaret Hoover. You know, she's Herbert Hoover's great-great-granddaughter. That's how she got her job. How does she get that job? Well, yeah. Her great-great-grandpa was a president. And I'm sure the family, they still have ties and friends and all that stuff. Anyway, moving on. I like Margaret Hoover. So this is Dreyfuss was sitting down with Margaret Hoover, and he's going, no one should be telling me as an artist that I have to give in to the latest, most current idea of what morality is. Okay, all right, hold on now. Let's break this down. No one should be telling me as an artist who must create from nothing, no one should be telling me as an artist that I have to give in to the latest, most current idea of what morality is. Okay, so it's really a question of, your art being governed by a contemporary morality. Do you allow your art to be governed by the morality of the time? And don't think, well, morality is more. No, it's not. No, morality changes. Morality changes with decades. So it's an interesting point. I think he's making it a bit ham-fistedly. He goes on to say that, it's crazy that he could never play a black character. And I happen to agree with him. I think that is crazy. Nobody had a problem when Robert Downey Jr. became Don Cheadle in that movie. Remember when Robert Downey Jr. turned into Don Cheadle in, what movie was that? Was that Pineapple? No, not Pineapple Express. Whatever. Remember? Robert Downey Jr. He did a whole movie as Don Cheadle. Tom Cruise was in it in a fat suit. What's that movie called? Come on, you guys. That's a good movie. Tropic Thunder. Boom. There you go. So isn't that weird? I mean, that's relatively recent. And Robert Downey Jr. people thought it was great. People thought it was great that he did an entire movie as Don Cheadle. So when, Richard Dreyfuss is sitting around waxing poetic with Margaret Hoover there on Firing Line, he says, I kept never going to get to play a black man. You might be able to. I don't know why you had to say it out loud, though. You don't have to say it out loud. That doesn't sound good saying it out loud. It doesn't mean that you're never going to be able to play. You might be able to play a black guy. Who knows? Because I'll tell you one thing that we do know about culture and the way we think about things is that it's a pendulum. It's that this shit swings from side to side. The problem is that right now the pendulum is like right here. It's going tick, 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 tick. You know what I mean? It's not, no one side is in complete control. It seems like both sides are at each other's idiot throats. Dreyfuss, who famously played Matt Hooper in the 1975 horror film Jaws, claims the standards were legislating feelings. What are we risking, he says? Are we really risking hurting people's feelings? You can't legislate that. And you have to let life be life. And I'm sorry, I don't think that there is a minority or a majority in the country that has to be catered to like that. Now get off my lawn. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Richard Dreyfuss. We haven't heard from him in 20 years, and he's telling everybody to get off his lawn. And he wants to know exactly where his new neighbor's from. What is that? That's what Richard Dreyfuss is getting into nowadays. That kind of stuff. Let's see. Who else is trending? What else do we have here? Elizabeth Holmes is trending for almost the same reason. Well, not the same reason. Elizabeth Holmes is trending. Remember, she created Thanos, who then, acquired the Goblet of Stone and made everybody vanish. Remember that? Elizabeth Holmes, she did that with Thanos. So she's been convicted and she's going to jail, but she's getting like special fancy white lady treatment where she's hanging out in the Hamptons. Like, I thought she was going to jail like a year ago. Like, where is she? What is going on here? So anyway, sat down. She did like a one-on-one with the New York Times, and the New York Times just completely bent over backwards. They like, oh, she's just a mom. Look at her. She's just a mom trying to balance raising 2 small children while facing 10 years in a federal correction. You know what I mean? That's the story. Everybody... This lady, let me ask you this. What if her bullshit had gone into production? People would have died. You know, she was claiming she's going to revolutionize home health care, and it didn't work, and it wasn't going to work. And they were ready to go into production. They were going to send these placebo machines, which is essentially what they were. This is not a nice woman. This is like this is like a broken... You know, she's weird. Like, oh, she's not. Oh, by the way, that was the other thing. The New York Times was like, oh, and she's not doing the Elizabeth Holmes of old. She's got a new haircut, girls. Ladies, she's no longer wearing the black turtleneck. She's now wearing sundresses because she's a mom. No, it was disgusting. It was a really stupid article. I read it. Stupid article. Glenn Kuiper. I want to talk about Glenn Kuiper. Glenn Kuiper is trending. Glenn Kuiper is he's the voice of the Oakland A's. Look at us talking about the Oakland A's again. We were just talking about Vida Blue. Now we're going to talk about Glenn Kuiper. Glenn Kuiper is the lead baseball play-by-play man for your Oakland Athletics. He was doing a game in Kansas City, and I'm gonna try and share something. And you know it's going to get glitchy and it's going to suck, and I apologize, but it is what it is. I'm going to pretend like it's fine and we'll all move on. Glenn Kuiper was doing A's Kansas City game down there in Kansas City, and he's in the booth because he does play-by-play, and he's talking back to the studio guys. You know, like a couple of old managers, and you know maybe a studio host, and then a couple of ball players. You know, round table like you see with the NFL. So it's going back and forth between the booth and the guys in the studio, and they're like, how'd you spend your off day in Kansas City? The studio asks old Glenn, and Glenn goes, I gotta tell you, man, we had a great day in Kansas City. And then he talks about a barbecue place that he went to that he really enjoyed, and then he talks about going to the Negro League Hall of Fame, located there in Kansas City, Missouri, I don't know, Kansas City, whatever, the Negro League Hall of Fame. Not at all hard to say. Negro League Hall of Fame. Except he didn't say Negro League Hall of Fame. He said something that, like, you know, your grandpa might have called it, you know, the N-word Hall of Fame. And I'm going to play it for you, and it's not been bleeped. You're just going to hear it. Let's see if we can find this. I think they're going to make us what? They're going to make us watch a commercial, aren't they? Probably. Oh, well, look at this. Okay, so this is going to be a problem. I just realized we are not going to be able to watch this video. All right, you know what? So I'll just play it for you. I can play it. Yeah, we'll do it this way. I'll just play it on the microphone. You won't be able to see it, which is weird because if you see it, you notice that absolutely nobody reacts to what he says. Nobody in the studio, his partner sitting right next to him. He says it plain as day. It's not even, I mean, he articulates it. It's not like, wait, what did he say? Did he say that? No, there was no question as to what he said. All right, so let's see if we can hear this. Just play it for you here. Oh, yeah, you bastards. You're going to make us watch a commercial, aren't you? Okay. So I want you to hear, I think it's important that we hear what he said.
$50. Pantene Pro Vitamin Formula repairs hair.
Okay, hold on. Here we go.
As well as the leading luxury bonding treatment for softness.
Making us watch a hair commercial.
Resilience.
And it's glitching. And here we go.
Price tag. If you know it's Pantene.
Here we go.
Brown, Gates or one of them barbecue joints and you think about your boy, don't be afraid to pick me up a jar of that barbecue sauce now.
I'm going to tell you something. Dallas and I are going to talk about it today. We had a phenomenal day today. Nigger League Museum,
Oops.
Arthur Bryant's barbecue, all in the span of 2.5 hours. Awesome.
Incredible. An incredible day. Yeah, I still got Arthur Bryant's.
So there was no mistake there. I mean, that was pretty clearly articulated. One more time. Here we go. Oh, for goodness sake.
Nigger League Museum and Arthur Bryant's phenomenal day today. Nigger League Museum and Arthur Bryant had a phenomenal day today. Nigger League Museum and Arthur Bryant's barbecue.
God. All right, that's Glenn Kuiper, your lead voice of the Oakland A's. Now, catch you up on what's happening here. The Oakland A's have indefinitely suspended him. He is, that's not the kind of thing that they do. Well, Cotton, we can't say Cotton. It's not the kind of thinking that the Oakland A's want to align themselves with, so they've taken this man who's been the play-by-play guy there for almost 20 years at this point, works tirelessly in the Oakland community. One quick little Google of Glenn Kuiper and the role that he plays in the Oakland community. Forget about it. All of that stuff is over. He's been that guy for 20 years, but he accidentally put a couple of words together that didn't go together, and he unfortunately called the Negro League Hall of Fame something that maybe your ugly grandpa might call it. Did he do it on purpose? Isn't that what is the most important thing to know if he did it on purpose? Isn't that important? Okay, so let's ask that question. Did he do it on purpose? Do you think that Glenn Kuiper, a 20-year Major League Baseball broadcaster for the Oakland A's, do you think that Glenn Kuiper intended to refer to the Negro Leagues of Major League Baseball Hall of Fame as the N-word? Do you think that? Because I don't. I don't think he intended that. I don't think, call me crazy. He's a old school broadcaster who I'm guessing knows the rules. It was a mistake. So if it's a mistake, let's move on from it's a mistake. Okay, so now the next level of charges is it's a mistake, but that word flowed real easy. And it did. And I will absolutely grant you that is a bit troubling. It seemed like if it was a mistake, see, look, if I misspoke, that word, that N-word, wouldn't be in the chamber. It wouldn't be on deck. There would be no, with me, I stream, basically this whole show for a couple of hours is just me doing stream of consciousness. I've been doing it for 2.5 hours at this point. It's just me doing stream of consciousness. I have never accidentally said the N-word in almost 2 years, and I've said a whole bunch of stuff because it's not there. It's not front-loaded. So, I guess, is that your concern? Well, I'm concerned about how casually and familiar he is with the N-word that it could just sleep into or sneak into his everyday conversation. Oh, stop it. What are you, an Orwellian thought copper? Get out of here. You can't, this guy. And of course, the Oakland A's are gutless. They're like, he's suspended indefinitely, which means a couple of days. It's a mistake. It's obviously a mistake. And a shout out to the other people on the panel. A couple of black people were on that panel. Shout out to everybody in the professionalism. Man, so here's the thing, and especially if you come from the kind of radio that I came from, which is essentially shock radio since 1992, man. Basically, I've been a part of radio shows where anything can happen, okay? And sometimes really bad stuff happens. So the rule is, this is something that all pros know. Don't shine a spotlight on it. The professional in the room, when another professional slips up and says something like the N-League Hall of Fame, the other professionals in the room move on. The non-professionals are the ones that go, oh, what did he say? everybody on this broadcast was the height of professionalism. They all heard him say it. Not one of them batted an eye. It's like every single one of them knew. We're going to get through this. We're going to move on. We're going to act like it didn't happen. So then he had to apologize. You want to listen to the apology? The apology, they make him come back out, like, a couple of innings later. I just want to say, I think I said some things, made some people mad. So let's listen to the apology.
All in the span of 2.5 hours. Awesome.
Incredible. An incredible day. Yeah, I still got Arthur Bryant's hanging around my tongue.
Yeah, he's got a little bit for later on his beard, but that's okay. Could be worse.
Breath mint for the broadcasters. I know. I've been there before. Guys, have a great call, and hopefully you'll get a win to go along with your perfect day in KC so far. Let's get to Kyle Mullen.
All right, now here comes later in the broadcast. Here's him having to apologize.
Welcome back to Coffin Stadium. I just want to a little bit earlier in the show, I said something didn't come out quite the way I wanted it to, and I just wanted to apologize if it sounded different than I meant it to be said. And like I said, I just wanted to apologize for that. Laureano is the hitter. He takes a strike.
I love the insincerity. It's an apology. You let the apology hang for about 10 seconds, and then it's Mariano's in for a strike. That one's down in the lower half of the... Just move on. Forget it. Never happened. He apologized. He's hoping that it would go away after the game. He learned that he was indefinitely suspended. Glenn Kuiper's a good guy. Glenn Kuiper is not a racist, and anybody who thinks that he needs to suffer some sort of penalty for this, that is maybe above and beyond a day or two, like I get a day or two, says, well, you're just wrong. You're just wrong, and you're a terrible person, and you're playing the gotcha game, because this man is not a racist. He did not intend to say that. And if you were offended by it, you're not a serious person. How's that? There you go. If you were offended by something that is obviously a miscommunication by a guy with absolutely zero track record of having anything sketchy, racially speaking, in his past, if you are offended by that and you cannot look at the context clues and go, oh, he obviously... No, if you allow yourself to be offended by that, you're not a serious person. You're not a serious person. All right, that's why Glenn Kuiper is trending. Whole lot of real live racists out there, people. You don't need to be going after a Glenn Kuiper for misspeaking on Major League Baseball Network. What else do we have here? I should probably do this as well. So the Negro League Hall of Fame and Museum did respond to the Glenn Kuiper situation. Athletics announcer Glenn Kuiper has been suspended for apparent racial slur during broadcast. Oakland Athletics broadcaster Glenn Kuiper was suspended indefinitely next week. He'll be back next week. After using, he'll miss like one road trip. After using an apparent racial slur during a pregame segment before Friday's baseball game in Kansas City. Let me get the statement here from Oakland A's. The Oakland A's say the language used by Glenn Kuiper during today's pregame broadcast is unacceptable. The Oakland Athletics do not condone such language. We are working to address the situation. Boy, I'll tell you, Glenn Kuiper doesn't want to lose the gig now. He really doesn't. He really doesn't lose the gig now. And maybe now, maybe they might fire him. They might have been wanting to fire him anyway, and they might use this for cause. Now, why would I say that? Why would they move away from an announcer for 20 years that have been, fabric of the Oakland baseball market there? Because they're moving to Las Vegas. The Oakland A's are moving to, they're going to be the Las Vegas A's starting in a year or two. I'm not exactly sure when. It's going to be really soon, though. And they might be looking to rebrand and do all kinds of different things. But if you're Glenn Kuiper and you've had to spend the last 20 years of your life in Oakland, which I guess if I'm being honest, you're spending the last 20 years of your life in the Bay Area. Glenn Kuiper makes a nice living. He can live on the San Francisco side. He can live on the nice side of the Bay Area. So his life has been nice. I don't know. I wouldn't mind moving to Vegas and being the belle of the ball in a new city where, everybody's getting baseball fever there. Yeah, but this could be a reason for them to fire him and bring in some hot new young guy, the voice of the Las Vegas A's from day one. Where is it? My official statement on the Glenn Kuiper incident. Okay. So here is what Bob Kendrick had to say. He is the president of the Negro League Baseball Museum and Hall of Fame. Notice how I am taking extra care in pronouncing that properly. He says, I'm aware of the unfortunate slur made by Glenn Kuiper. I welcomed Glenn to the Hall of Fame yesterday, and no, he was genuinely excited to be here. See, this is weird, because remember, he was telling a story about going to the Negro League Hall of Fame, and he accidentally said N-word league. And so now the guy who was like his guide, who was like, they were all cool together, now that guy's got to chime in. He's got to be like, yeah, we were with him yesterday. He seemed to have a good time, and then he dropped an N-bomb on us. No. Says the word is painful and has no place in our society. And while I don't pretend to know Glenn's heart, I do know that my heart is one of forgiveness. I hope all of you will find it in yourself to do the same. Bob Kendrick, President, Negro League Baseball Hall of Fame. Bob Kendrick, I salute you. That is some magnanimous shit there, Bob Kendrick. Good for you. Good for Bob Kendrick. Let's see here. Okay, all right. Yeah, look at us, man. We're going long. Why? Because we're energized thanks to our friends at Sacred Oils. Toe sucker. You want to talk about a toe sucker? This is a weird story. This is a fun story. We're running out of stuff to talk about, but here's a good one. So a dude in Nashville, a dude from Dallas. That's right, he's a Dallas dude. He's in Nashville on business, doing that business down there into Nashville. And he's in his room at the Hilton there in downtown Nashville, and he's awokened. He's awoken it up. He's awoken it up in a most unusual way. The sensation of toes being sucked. Ew. Yeah. So this dude from Dallas is sleeping in his Hilton hotel room in downtown Nashville, and he wakes up, and the night manager is sucking his toes. No! Make it stop. I would beat the fuck out of that. Okay, first I would look at him and I'd be like, can I beat the fuck out of this guy? And if I went, yeah, I can beat the fuck out, then I'd beat the fuck out of that guy. But sometimes facts are facts. If I looked at him, I'm like, oh shit, I can't even beat him up because he would out cardio me easily. Look at him. He's ripped. But if I had determined that I could beat him up, oh, that dude doesn't get whoa, that's rape! Toe rape! Toe rape! I've been toe raped. A hotel guest in Tennessee told police he woke to find the night manager sucking his toes. David Neal, 52, admitted to entering the hotel room, but claimed it was because he smelled smoke. 52-year-old David Neal, look at yourself. Look at yourself, 52-year-old David Neal. Okay, you're a night manager at a hotel. That's not great. That's not great. You're 52. You're a night manager? How long you been here? You're a night manager at 52. 52, you should have been bumped up to corporate 10 years ago. But here we are. Here we are with you, David Neal. You're sucking toes of paying clients. This is why you're a night manager. This is why you're a 52-year-old night manager. Neal of the Hilton Nashville downtown has been charged with aggravated burglary and assault. Charged with those things because there's probably no such thing as toe rape. But there should be. Police allege that a sleeping hotel guest in Nashville, Tennessee, woke to find the night manager sucking his toes. Suspect David Neal, 52, the manager of the Hilton Nashville downtown, has now been arrested and charged with aggravated burglary. Hard word for me. I'll admit that. I'm man enough to admit I can't say burglary. You know what else? I'm man enough to admit I can't spell restaurant. Can't. Never been able to spell restaurant. Wouldn't know how to spell restaurant. Restaurant has letters that I don't think there needs to be letters in restaurant. I can't say burglary, and I just said burglary. I have difficulty saying burglary, and I can't spell restaurant. Let's see. Nashville Metropolitan Police say the manager made a key card to gain access to the hotel room and entered around 5 a.m. on March the 30th. The guest from Texas named Peter Brennan, tow rape survivor. The guest from Texas named Peter Brennan told police that he woke up to find Neil sucking his toes. I mean, that is. I'm presenting it to you, and you're hearing it, and you're going, "Oh yeah, that'd be weird." But really, just kind of take a moment. Like, how do you react in them when you realize? I mean, you don't like the first thing can't be the night manager is sucking my toes. It's got to be who let a dog in here. Am I bleeding? You know what I mean? Did I cut my foot? Then you look up and you see that guy. You see old David Neal. What's his name? I don't want to get his name right. Brennan said he confronted Neal as he had recognized him as one of the hotel employees who had entered his room the previous day to help fix his TV. We've all been there. TV on the fritz in the hotel room. They got to send up like a team of people. So this dude came up. He was in the room. He saw the big hunky Texan. He was like, I'm going to sneak in and suck your toes. And he did. Neal admitted to police that he entered the guest's room, but claimed it was because he had smelled smoke and wanted to check on the guest. However, the authorities noted that Neal didn't tell anybody else that he smelled smoke. He didn't alert security about the smell of smoke, and there were no other complaints from anybody else on the property of any smells of smoke, so it was a lie. He wanted to suck the toe. He made the key card. He assumed he'd be asleep. Okay. Now I got to put myself in the mind of the toe rapist. So I've got phlegm in my throat. I don't know why this is happening because I feel completely fine. Not sick or anything. All right, now I got to put myself in the mind of the toe rapist. So what is my bag? Is the intention to suck the toe? Is this it? Is this what he's hoping? I go in there, I suck the toe, dude wakes up, he's into it, now we're sucking each other's toes, and this is like, some like porno, turns into a porno. What percentage, what was the likelihood of that being the way it goes down? Or they go down? Because I would think, I think the reality is I'm going to go in there, I'm going to sneak in, he's going to be asleep, I'm going to suck his toes, he's going to wake up, he's going to put my fucking head through the wall. I mean, that's the way I would think about it. That's more likely the outcome. Who wakes up to find their toes being sucked by a stranger and goes, well, how are you, sailor? Who does that? That's not the way. Even if you were into it, even if it was like another dude who was into it, like would eventually get there, in that initial moment, it's not, well, what? It's, what? Let's see here. The room key was not found. Neal told investigators that he just tossed it away. The manager was arrested on Friday at his home in Lebanon and is jailed on a $27,000 bond. Brennan said he had been traumatized. Okay, God, all right, here we go. Buckle up for the bullshit parade. The toe rape victim is just playing it to the hilt. The Texan, right? This is a Texas man who got his toes sucked. Oh, he's traumatized. Of course he is. Of course, I would be traumatized too. Staying at a place with a big giant sign out front that says Hilton. Woo! Damn right, I'm traumatized. This happened at a Hilton, I'm traumatized. This happens at Bob and Betty Lou's Motel 6 franchise off Route 30. I ain't traumatized. I'm just getting a Hilton, I'm traumatized. Hilton gonna write me a check for getting toe raped. Brennan said he has been traumatized by the bizarre episode. I'm having problems sleeping, frankly. I'm going through some PTSD. Oh my God. PTSD. I mean, do you see what cucks even the toughest Texan will turn himself into if there's a potential payday at the end of it? This is unbecoming. PTSD. I've dealt with people with PTSD. I spent a lot of time working with veterans charities. No, I know real PTSD. This is not PTSD. Don't use PTSD for this shit. You know who has PTSD? 6-year-old kids who had to hide under a body of their dead classmates. A pile of their... that's PTSD. You got your toes sucked by a weirdo in a Nashville Hilton. Hell, some people pay for that kind of night. Brennan said he's been traumatized by the bizarre episode. I'm having problems sleeping, frankly, and I'm going through some PTSD. Talking to a therapist. Let's see. I still don't really feel safe in my own home. Why not? Why don't you feel safe in your own home? This happened in Nashville, like 1,000 miles away. Why don't you feel safe in your own home? That's a you thing. You can't put this up. This has nothing to do with being toe raped in a Nashville hotel room. I don't feel comfortable in my own home. Again, that sounds like a you thing, because none of this happened in your own home. But what if somebody sucks my... Has anybody ever, before the incident in Nashville, sucked your toe in the middle of the night? No? I didn't think so. So, probably not realistic for you to build the whole rest of your life around the fear of somebody sneaking in and sucking your toes, right? Can we agree? Can you move on? Michelle Myers, a spokesperson for Hilton Corporation, told Nashville's News Channel 5... Hilton Nashville downtown is independently owned and operated by a third party, and no Hilton entity employs staff at this property. The safety and security of our guest is our top priority, and Hilton takes matters such as these very seriously. That's an interesting statement. Hilton says that the safety and security of our guests is our top priority, yet it's the last sentence in the paragraph after the preceding 3 paragraphs of how we're not responsible. Such bullshit. I mean, do you see how bullshit this is? So the official Hilton statement is, Hilton Nashville downtown is independently owned. We don't have anything to do with it. It's operated party, and there's no Hilton people that employ anybody on this property. But we want you to know that the safety and security of our guests is our... no, it's not. A statement issued by the manager of the Hilton Nashville downtown said... The safety and security of our guests and team members is our highest priority. We are working closely with the Metropolitan Nashville Police Department, and as part of our company policy, we do not comment on ongoing investigations. All right, there you have it. Story of the day. The Nashville toe sucker. Traumatized. This dude out here. There's a dude out here in Dallas. He's from Dallas. There's a dude out here in Dallas walking around pretending like he's got PTSD because some weirdo sucked his toes in a Nashville hotel once. I can't even sleep in my own bed anymore. I mean, if I'm being honest, I'd say all that shit too. Because I'm a money whore. I will do it for the money. Absolutely. What else do we have here? There's the last thing we got. Safest states. You know how I love these lists because they're always so random and they're completely different, and we might do the same list 5 times in a month and they'll be completely different order of states. But hey, the 10 safest states in America. Are you ready? These are the places where if you want to be safe, why? Because you're boring. Because you're boring and you're afraid. That's why you moved to Wyoming. Number 10, Wyoming. Also because you're really rich and you also have places in New York and Los Angeles. You have the coasts, but also a place in Montana. Number 9. What's the number 9 state? Connecticut. Connecticut is number 9. You afraid? What are you afraid? Move to Connecticut. It's safe. Virginia is number 8. Virginia. Very safe. 7th safest state in America, Massachusetts. What? Come on. Boston? Number 6, Rhode Island. Rhode Island is safe. What else is a safe state? Idaho. You know why Idaho's safe? Because there ain't nothing going on in Iowa. Quick, name one thing Idaho's named for, except potatoes. Can't name potatoes. Go. I got nothing. Idaho potatoes. Boise State. There you go. Known as Boise State. Number 4, safest state in America, Vermont. Vermont. Number 3 is New Jersey. New Jersey is the number 3 safest state. Really? Seems like there's a whole lot of nonsense going on. Half the state is like the suburbs of Philly. The other half is the suburbs of New York. I don't know. I don't buy that. New Hampshire is the number 2 safest state, and the safest state in all of America, ladies and gentlemen, Maine. Get on up there to Maine. Ain't nobody dangerous going to Maine. That's what it is. Ain't nobody dangerous going to Maine. If you're heading in that part of the country, you're just going to stop in New York. You're going to stop, and you're not going to go all the way up. There's way too many distractions. All right, there you have it. Those are the 10 safest states in America. Let me do a quick jump into the Twitters, and let's see. Let us see, shall we? Let's see if there's anything new that has been happening since we signed on some 3 hours ago. Huh? Look at us doing a healthy show. Yeah. Barney's right. You gotta. Well, first of all, every hotel I've ever stayed in, I got that flip lock on there. You know what I mean? You can't just come in when I'm sleeping in there. You can't just come in because you're a manager and you can make a card. Why is this dude? What you know the bolt lock, or I don't know if it's a bolt, but it's, what does he call it? Flip that physical lock. Yeah, that's it. That you gotta put that on, man. Also, here's another hotel trick. That arm of the lock that we're talking about, if you flip it out, make sure it's flipped outward, and then when you go get ice and the door slams behind you, it'll slam in that thing. That's a little pro tip for you from hotels. From a guy who's been locked out of many hotel rooms after scampering down a hallway to get some ice. Let's see. What do we have? Oh, God, she's the best. Kay Adams. I like Kay Adams. Kay Adams, the football lady. Oh, she's such a doll. All right, looks like earthquake is trending. Is there an earthquake? Or everyone loves it? Okay, so an earthquake happened a long time ago. Earthquake is proof positive. Where is there an earthquake? Let's see. Our 3.2 earthquake just rattled Southern California 4 hours ago. Yeah, I don't know. Sean Connery is trending. Don't know why he's trending. He's been dead for a while. Are we going to posthumously Me Tooing Sean Connery? Because I got to believe there's a whole lot there. If anybody wants to, have some fun and tear the beloved corpse of Sean Connery limb from limb. I'm sure you can find out some bad shit that he did with women over the years. Let's see. Don Rickles is trending. We talked about that because it was his birthday. Oh, no, it's the anniversary of his passing. Partridge Family is trending. Why is the Partridge Family trending? Oh, that's cool. Okay. Partridge Family's trending because apparently there is a black and white picture going around that is they say this is the only existing photograph of the Partridge Family and the Brady Bunch all being together. And it seems to be like some kind of backstage picture of a whole bunch of kids. But you got Cindy, you got Jan, you got Danny, you got Lori, you got kids. Yeah, it's a nice little, I don't know that I needed that in my life, but that's nice. That's a feel good. Didn't think I needed it, but now look at us. Hold on. Boom, 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 boom. There we go. All right. Ain't nothing wrong with the rain. That's going to do it for today's show. Oh, by the way, So tonight we're going to be doing a Pugs and Parker with E show. Join us every Monday through Thursday evening at 9 o'clock. Oh, it's a lighthearted little give and take. A bunch of dudes hanging out, having fun. We're going to do a game tonight. We're going to do a new game, and it's a game that we created yesterday. And here's what we need. We need you to send me in my DM, Twitter, Facebook, whatever. I need you to send me a picture of your mom. That's right. That's right. James and I are going to play a game tonight. I can't believe that people actually sent pictures of their mom. We're going to play a game. Who would you rather be with sexually? Charo today and then someone's mom. And then we'll look at the picture of someone's mom and we'll decide. Remember Charo from the 70s? That's right. That's a new game. It's a new game. We're going to play it tonight. And Byron was the first person to send in a picture of his mom. So first up, would you rather have sex with Charo or would you rather Charo in 2023? We're going to show you pictures of Charo. Remember Charo from the 70s? Coochie, coochie, coochie. So she's sort of like the Moran. So would you rather be with Charo or would you rather be with Byron's mom? That's going to be tonight. Now, the way have missed you. I don't know what is happening there with your world, but you have not been around and you have been missed. Jeff Glenn raises a good question. He says, current or old mom pics? Now, this is interesting. I think that we should accept pictures of your mom. And, you can also have, was my mom hot? That's another game that we can play. Was my mom hot? That's fine. But, I think we're looking for pictures of her now. Right? So for who would you rather be with, Charo in 2023 or Byron's mom? I think it should be like an older woman. Just see who's holding up. But I do also want to see pictures of your mom when she was younger, because I think that's another game. Was my mom hot? It's, I don't know why I've got this mom thing going. That's weird. It just happened organically last night. James and I were talking. And he was going on and on about how hot he thought Charo was. And I was like, Charo's not that hot. Anyway, nobody cares how the sausage is made. Everything is gonna be all right. Yay! Thank you to Sacred Oils for stepping up. If you want to help the show and you're interested in all of this good stuff you've heard about, legalized cannabis and gummies and Delta 8 and CBD and all that stuff. Please check our friends at Sacred Oils. They've got everything. They're conveniently located right here in the heart of Dallas, Texas. Check them out. 13740 Midway Road in Dallas, or you can give them a call, 469-951-3910, 469-951-3910. They were great. They're great. They as it turns out, the people behind Sacred Oils, they've been tipping. They've been people who just tip and support the show every month, and now it's like, let's make it official. I'll still tip every month. We'll still do that. And then look at this. So thank you. They're the heroes of this month. Thank you to the folks at Sacred Oils. However, with that said, you can still tip the show because we still do need the support of you folks. That's not fixed. I need a little bit more time. I need a little bit more of the John Hinckley ballad, Everything's Gonna Be All Right, which is what we're listening to. La 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 la. All right, I got a lot of stuff to do. I got running around today. I got all that stuff. I just got another picture in my DM. Somebody else wants to know, hey, Pugs, would you have sex with my mom? That's coming up tonight, 9 o'clock on the stream. I'll see you tomorrow at noon. Bye, everybody. Radio.com.